time it is, baby. It's Toxic Lawyer Yuri stream. I literally forget if I use a mouse or a controller for this game. Advanced text, auto mode, previous mode. No, I use a controller for Urban Myth Dissolution Center. I use mouse and keyboard for Of the Devil. Okay. I know this. Imagine your lawyer walks in and she's wearing a corset. It's like, holy shit. I don't know if we're gonna win, but goddamn. And she's smoking straight stipples? Good lord. I want to make sure all my going live messages actually posted. Okay, they did. Good. Including to my own Discord server, which I repeatedly forget to notify about my own streams. Because, you know, I'm just that professional. Can you put that out on me? I'm sure she would consider it. I don't know how open Morgan is to just random propositions, but she might be into it. Alright, let us continue. Probably not. Yeah, it's fair. Valerie is hungry. Interesting. Sounds like you should get yourself some food. You need to get up and cook to get food. Shit, that is always the quandary, isn't it? My feet's hurt. Ooh, yeah, I get that. My feet hurt like 90% of the time. Morgan, how did you get so turned around? God only knows. Lucky I found my way here, though. It's such a relief to see a familiar face. Right. Listen, Morgan, I'm not sure that I should actually be talking to you without legal present. Oh. I mean, leadership hasn't even told us how David died. How much help could I be? I see. It's not that I don't trust you or anything. It's just I think, what with the Sarah issue, you should do whatever you have to protect yourself, Dawes. Yeah. Though, for what it's worth, I doubt you'll be in any trouble. Oh, that's good to hear. No, if anything, it's the big names who are going down. Going down? State was practically licking its lips when I finally left the courthouse last night. They're hungry for blood. Is his hand wrapped in, like, bandages? It looks like he has, like an interfacing glove or something. It seems to only cover the bottoms and palms of his hands. And looking to carve out a huge slice of Noble's flesh. What, like, fines and jail time? In the first 2 weeks, sure. Then, sanctions. I know what a sanction is. Financial restrictions, yeah. Imposed on companies in other countries. Basement footage. David's journal. Psychiatrist. Reading list. Yeah, right of repair gets knocked down again. They can't sanction Noble. We're too big to fail. Too valuable to lose. You're exactly right. That's what they'll say. And that's how they'll justify nationalizing the company. I think I'm gonna be sick. I made the shower beer real. This girl invented shower beer. I just hope your board goes quietly instead of... Instead of what? Scapegoating. Offering up smaller names on silver platters. Full cooperation and government oversight on the surface, a slaughter beneath. As they clean house and rip out anyone who could testify. No one will believe you once you're labeled a disgruntled former employee, right? And if the public's lost faith in the Animate 16, they can't do a recall. Not at this scale. The state will make them do a flat refund. Flat refund? The losses would be, yeah, your board probably just wants Sarah to go away so they can focus on their fight with the state. A tough fight, but one they know they won't personally have to risk anything in. That's why I'm hoping I can win this trial. Well, if I won, that would mean that Sarah's not an AI. David Assure was always of sound mind, and there's nothing wrong with the Animate 16. Everyone wins. Sorry, what am I saying? I only meant to stop by and thank you for your help yesterday. After all, you were the one who approved Sarah's registration. You win. Win what? Ask away. Well, if you insist. Why is that locked? Why is tenants locked? I fucking read a whole bunch about tenants. What the fuck? Why is it locked? I know I researched a fuckload about tenants. Wait your turn. Fine. That gets unlocked after the other options. Okay, that makes sense, I guess. Humor me for a moment. What's the company's official statement on AI? It's just every other locked one has unlocked instantly instead of waiting, so I was surprised. I thought it was just, you know, finding stuff. Appreciate the tip, though. Techtiva. Same as any rational company that wants to make money. We don't screw with it. Smart products are profitable. Products with their own priorities are anything but. That being said, AI is a concern for marketing, not product development. Meow. Meow. I think if he meowed, it would be sickly and sad. I think he would be a very disgruntled kitty. Well, it's like you got stepped on. Yeah, exactly. It's just like what he would sound like. We spend a lot of money reassuring our public that there's no risk because the public doesn't really understand how ironclad the tenets are. Because you use Tesseract. Trying to code an AI in Tess is like trying to pick yourself up and throw yourself. Nonsensical and self-defeating. Your scanner showed Sarah was running on Tesseract yesterday. If the language is as safe as you say, isn't that proof enough? Proof of nothing. For an AI, lying to another system about the code you're running is child's play. As for an AI built by David Assure, something that simple would be... Better change the subject. Wait, so making an AI takes more time and resources? It isn't an issue of funding? No, you can't just keep adding more data. The tenets underlie everything. The higher you stack, the more easily you'll topple. You make it sound like building an AI is impossible. Even for David Assure. Any chance you'll testify to that? It sounds impossible, but he's dead, and it looks like it was his android that did it. So I guess he was just that good. Better than you'll ever know. Noble spent months promoting the A16 as the culmination of A16, yeah, as the culmination of David Assure's work. So now that the marketing line is suddenly a huge liability, can you tell me how much he actually contributed? I mean, he was involved in pretty much every step of the process, but his design for synthetic motor neurons, that was the big one. The components that allow your warm androids to move realistically. It pushed the timetable for warm androids ahead by years. And yet, compared to what goes on in Sarah's brain in 1,000 times a second, David was only giving the company the most meager of the fruits that his private work bore. So if Noble ever did find out how much he and his assistants had achieved, they would feel that he had been holding out on them. And the company, they were appreciative of his contributions. I'm sure the researchers that he overtook by leaps and bounds weren't pleased, but the board was very enthusiastic. So would that spur them to be protective of David? Or would they fear that he was gaining too much influence, becoming irreplaceable? No, they need a strong motive to justify killing their golden goose. Mere paranoia isn't enough. With these people, it has to be the bottom line. And the easiest way to threaten their bottom line would be screwing with their androids. In light of all that's happened, one has to wonder if the A16 is compromised. I stayed up all night, sick with dread at the idea. But the data just doesn't support it. Sales have been strong. A16 base code was locked in over 2 quarters ago. If there were an issue, we would have caught it by now. And I would have been axed a long time ago. How many A16s are out there, anyway? We just passed 9 million sold. Not flying off the shelves like 14 or 15 so far, but the profit margin makes up for it. You mentioned data? Yeah, practically got the spreadsheet seared into my retinas. What do you want to know? Error reports, I guess. What do the error reports look like? Are customers reporting a lot of issues? Error counts are markedly low compared to the last gen. Mostly hardware complaints, it looks like. Batteries running out too quick, eye tracking off by a degree or two. Typical stuff. As cliched as it sounds, 99% of these things get fixed once they turn auto updates back on. So no killer robots getting filed away under bug reports. How and where are they being sold? What's the distribution pattern look like? They're distributed like you'd expect. Places where there are more people, there are more androids. Coastal cities like ours, of course, have the most of both. And since the A16 in particular is marketed as being relatively luxury, relatively consumer, they don't sell well outside of population centers. They can do the rural, hard labor jobs, but cold models can do the same work and with a lot less maintenance. So where has the A16 outperformed, then? Customer service, healthcare, childcare, lots of hospitals, offices, and, adult industries. Oh. Sorry, I don't mean to be blunt, No, it makes sense. They're warm and soft to the touch and obedient. I'm just surprised to hear it from a company employee. There are a lot of people at the company who won't talk about it, but I work in quality assurance. I've seen too many damages to pretend it's not happening. Damages? It's what we call it when the customer tries to return a product that's clearly broken beyond repair. Oh. Very high turnover in the pink market. Hasn't stopped you from selling to them. Well, we don't sell to them. Not directly. But there are resellers, and the company's never pretended to be interested in going after them. Are there resellers? I thought I read that right to repair got shot down again. There's been a gray market for softer androids for years. Or decades, depending on your definition of android. Based on the sales numbers I've seen, RTR getting canned was barely a blip on their radar. Sorry, didn't mean to make you uncomfortable with this topic. Huh? Me? No, I don't care. I just realized my left sock's on inside out. Damn, now I'm wondering about that myself. He bought that? This floor is basically a showroom, but you have a real factory a while south of the city limits, correct? Yeah, biggest company manufacturing complex in the hemisphere. Got any data on shipping out of there? Anything stand out? There's some prep work for the holiday bump, looks like. She really is a prude, it's so funny. I mean, if I had to guess, I would say it's less her being a prude and more the concept of human-like, soft and warm androids being returned after being, like, broken to the point of being unable to be repaired. Or, like, literally being non-functional, especially in an industry like that. Might sound early to get started now, but we usually see... Something wrong? No, the numbers are all normal, but the data's been edited. Is that unusual? Well, this section's just a count of how many were sent where. There's not a lot of room for errors, so there shouldn't be much need for corrections. It's no problem, though. I can view the edit history and see what was fixed. Okay, that's weird. Game and time on the devil. True. Fully evil on the devil over here. Was something added? Deleted? No, the overall sum's the same. It's just a bunch of swaps. Like here, 29 FFCE 010311 taken out, returned for adjustments. 27 FCDD 019634 substituted in, shipment leaves on time. 67 BBTC 899543 returned to assembly for revisions. Replaced by 67 BBTD 592698, shipment leaves on time. So, does all that strike you as odd, Mr. Dawes? Replacements before shipping isn't uncommon, but when it happens by the batch load. To spot individual unit imperfections among a shipment at that stage in the process, must have been someone with a lot of experience or authority. Probably both. Must have. You don't know who made these changes? I can tell you they were somebody important. Small last-minute changes to which androids got shipped out. Not very juicy on its own. It's a long ways away from explaining why someone wanted to kill David, but it was hidden. And that means someone didn't want it found. Okay, thanks for sharing that data. Sure, did you find what you were looking for? Hell if I know! Fair enough. I know you're convinced the tenants are safe. So how do you square that with what happened to David? There's a cat next to a dog. First answer that comes to mind is the dog to the left or the right. I'd say the dog is on the right, the cat is on the left. You might expect half of people to say left, half to say right. But actually their answer is almost entirely dependent on their native tongue. Whether it's read right to left or left to right. The language they speak affects how they process information. Their language affects how they think. And it's the same for machines. People can learn new languages and it can change our perspective. But machines can't learn a new source code. Every update's a reincarnation. If that android did kill David, it wasn't because a 0 returned as a 1 somewhere. It's because there's something fundamentally wrong with it. And personally, I think it's cruel to bring something that flawed into the world. Yeah, unnecessarily cruel. Any other questions before I go to find a hole to hide my head in? I'd like you to take a look at this. Chemistry's a little outside my purview. What is this? A compound found in David Assure's blood. The poison? What is it? It didn't match anything in any database the medical examiner had access to. That's crazy. Here's a crazy idea to follow it up. See if it's a match for anything in Noble's internal databanks. We, don't make poison here. I'm not sure what that would accomplish. No, but this is a factory floor. You could be making baby blankets out there. You'd still have hazardous materials lying around. You'd think it was something industrial? I suppose it could be. Looks like it's carbon-based, narrows it down a lot. It's not exactly. What is it? It doesn't make any sense, but it's a match for patent NOD 52345S. A synthetically produced neurotransmitter analog for usage in organic android components. Serotonin. That explains a lot. The neurotransmitter would interact directly with the nervous system, in David's case, depressing it enough to put his life in danger. It also explains why it was preset in his personal manufacturer. Sarah's nervous system, worth 10 times its weight in platinum, must be pumped full of it. So they think this is what killed him? Helen Young led the development of serotonin, didn't she? Yes, she did. I should go and ask her about its composition, then. Normally, someone at her level wouldn't be able to answer specific questions about a compound formulated years ago. But she does have a reputation for being very detail-oriented. That works out nicely, then. They say she's the type of person to micromanage how much water people drink at 15 minutes stand-up. I heard the rumor that she once said bathroom breaks are a timesheet theft. Aren't they? I'm kidding. But you should be careful about criticizing a superior where people could be listening. Good thing we've got privacy in your office. Uh-huh. No one but the two of us listening in. Casting explode your bones? Who are you trying to explode? Thanks for cooperating, Dawes. When the state storms the building and starts zip-tying people, I'll let them know that you were helpful. Yeah. Nice joke. You are joking, right? And just one more thing. Actually, there is one more thing I wanted to ask you. What's that? How long have you been a corporate spy? What? Yesterday, you let it slip that you worked in consulting. Had your guard down because I'm not part of the industry? I was a consultant. What are you talking about? When I walked in here, you said you didn't know how David died. But just now you called serotonin a poison. What? I just assumed if a chemical was found in a dead man. And I'm sure you've got practiced answers to every logical point I could raise, so I'll just say this. Does the nervous guy bit really work on people? Keep your cool and people don't know what you're thinking. But if you act a little jumpy, they feel inclined to calm you down. Before they know it, they're spilling their guts just to have something to fill the silence with. Though it's not entirely an act these days. To answer your question, I did 3 tours in consulting. 4 quarters of internal affairs spy hunting at the Western Division. Then 8 embedded in Howe Industries. 24 months wearing different faces, answering to different names, sleeping for 1 hour at a time, with a 3D printed shiv under my pillow. My nerves are completely shot. My cover wouldn't last a day if I went back under. So you're a spy for Noble. Retired. You're working 6 days a week. 5.5 days a week. And in quality assurance. Trust me, this position is a cushy, generous reward for my past services. Well, you can't be that retired. You clearly know more than you're letting on. I have some old inboxes I still check. So can you tell me what the hell is happening around here? Why I'm the one investigating David's death while your old co-workers are off twiddling their thumbs? It's that story. The soldier, the blood transfusion. Blood, not oxidant. He's finally shooting straight. Did something happen to him afterwards? Did the transfusion not last? No, there's nothing wrong with the blood. It's the story itself. There was a soldier, and he did get injured. But it was on a base during a training exercise. There was a medical tent 10 meters away the whole time. The transfusion was just a fortuitous live test. His life was never in any danger. Doesn't make for much of a tearjerker. Not even a good photo op, which our competitors understood. One of them, maybe a few of them, got a hold of the story, started puffing it up, astroturfing, painting over socials and virals. Can I press space? Yes. By the next morning, we had the military thinking we're leaking like a sieve. Meanwhile, the media's bombarding us with requests for videos and interviews and data. And the state's praising our tech with one side of their mouth while threatening to go mist us with the other for getting so greedy. Everyone in Noble CCE has been slammed ever since, trying to find an off-ramp for the story we can walk back the claims on without torpedoing our state contracts. I don't know what happened to Assure, whether it was AI gone rogue or company infighting gone too far. But I can tell you it wasn't done by consultants. That's actually an ingenious rival business tactic. Oh yeah, no, hype it up until they have to deny that their shit is even working. That all you wanted to know? Tell me about the psychiatrist. You worked in CCE. Was David actually seeing a psychiatrist, or was it all cloak and dagger bullshit? I know that office. Know some old co-workers who see him. So it's a front? They do both. So he was probably getting training. And he was probably talking to someone. Sorry, not the answer you were hoping for. Hoping? I wasn't hoping for any answer. The answer I expected was... You okay? That's all. Unless you've got any advice? You're saying you want a consultation? Couldn't hurt, right? This company, all these companies, hate to lose. So don't fight them. Make them think you're fighting for them. Well, that's just business as usual for me. 1:22 p.m. July 2nd, 2086. Up until now, there's been this grating ambiguity about what actually killed David. So did you have fun in court? I certainly did. We've had to use guesses and process of elimination and even a goddamn pseudonym, but I've finally identified what the poison was. Now I just need to figure out how it got there. Or rather, who put it there. Which brings me back to here. An elevator shaft somewhere under or above ground, but with kilometers of concrete, facelessness, and bureaucratic authority surrounding me on all sides. An enemy in every cubicle in every office of every floor of this temple, built to interpret the inscrutable divinations of a temperamental oracle named Share Price. Back in the belly of the beast, yet I feel more at ease now than I have all weekend. Makes sense. Now that I know Noble's my enemy, I know where to aim. All that's left to do is pull the trigger. Good thing I didn't bring a knife to this fight. I brought my gun! And that sound just now tells me it's playing its role perfectly. I'll never have a real use for a firearm with this much bloatware, but just by carrying it around and paying attention to when the hard safety flips on, I'll always get a heads up when the police have entered the vicinity. Hi, Detective Reyes. It's Morgan. Happened to get your contact info when you got me cleared for the crime scenes yesterday. Delete contact. Block this contact. Stop voice to text. How to stop voice to text. Just wanted to check in. Report this contact voice to text disabled. And advise you that Noble's scared shitless of you stomping in and nationalizing the place. So they might be a little uncooperative when it comes to fetching documents. Block this contact. What makes you think we are at Noble? My bad then. Forget I said anything. And whatever you do, don't start your investigation with their stock buyback program. Trying reverse psychology, it only works if I care what you think. Stop voice to text. I love her and Reyes' back and forth. Like, I love her and Emma, but like her and Reyes is really just the piece de resistance. Kanaya texter. I mean, she's just doing voice to text. So her phone is doing that. About time. Thought I'd have to ride the elevator for the next half hour. Morgan Counselor, your presence has been requested on the upper floors. Deja vu. Might you have a moment to speak in private? Always. But who's asking? The board. What are the chances? I've been wanting to speak to them too. 1:40 p.m., July 2nd, 2086. Noble Electronics, Northeastern HQ. Conference Room 108A. Evangeline Morgan. Helen Young. Thank you for making time in your schedule. Her posture, her tone, the fold of her clothes. Professional. Dialed up to 11. Ratio this streamer. Corporate armor, a full set. Her guard is up. Just Morgan is fine. You're just a few minutes early, Morgan. Typical corporate never be the first one to show up. Pissing contest nonsense. It doesn't even make sense. They called me in here. How could I possibly be early? I'm flipping the script. Fuck you guys. Oh, that's embarrassing. I didn't mean to catch you all off guard. I'll go wait outside in that case so you can all collect yourselves. I'm just surprised that Noble Electronics could screw up something as simple as a meeting start time. But I'm not well versed in the art of staring at emails. You've made your point, counselor. Don't push your luck. Yeah, I got fucking chips for that one, baby. Not with these people. Might I dare to ask who these people are? You don't have the time to remember their names, and it won't do you much good either. Right, so they're not just rich. They're anonymous rich. The Mob Act guarantees a minimum level of security and peace of mind for any citizen who might be targeted due to their financial status. Well, I have to know what that is. Protection of Reasonable Anonymity Act is a law passed in 2059 and amended in 2061 and to protect the safety of individuals with income above the 99th percentile of the nation. Oh my fucking god. Literally just the 1% of it are scared of getting guillotined. The law. Establishes procedures and funding for technology that helps individuals within that particular tax bracket keep their name, face, and address off the main net, ensuring that they and their families are not prejudiced against because of their financial status. Yada, yada, yada. Publicized crimes. Corporate executives are stalked, harassed, and assaulted. Flash lynchings. Yada, yada. Yeah. San Antonio shipping data. Spoken like a true believer, except Mob Act is what normal people call it. Touting the party line, but allowing yourself one instance of rebellion, or just a slip of the tongue. I would never fault anyone for wanting their privacy, especially not job creators. But it must get pretty inconvenient not having a name to call them. Not really. Conversations with them are always one-sided. Sounds like a great environment to do business in. Look at the building you're standing in. We managed to eke out a meager profit somehow. So if it works, didn't you take you for the might makes right type? And I didn't take you for a clueless bore incapable of reading the room. Sorry, did I say something off color? I was only being casual since it's just the two of us in here. Maybe we should take advantage of this rare bit of privacy. Clear the air. You're here to ask about Sarah, yes? As I said before, I had no idea that Dr. Ashore had been building an android in his private property. And I can say here and now that no one at Noble Electronics ever suspected that he was working to undermine the Tenet framework. She's trying to sound candid in her tone, but she's choosing her words with a surgeon's scalpel. Was she coached? Is that the truth? Or is it your statement as VP of Android Futures? It's both, of course. Dr. Ashur was always more than happy to hold himself up and work independently. We both know that. True, he could be pretty reclusive. I'm sure it caused all kinds of headaches, him disappearing on you all like that. Must have been especially difficult when he came back with breakthroughs that propelled Noble to the top of the industry. You should take a seat. If that's everyone, shall we begin? Friendly bunch. Is there a problem with the sound? Anyone get muted by accident? No. Okay. Thanks for having me. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm actually a bit flustered having you all show up here. I didn't expect to talk to anyone higher up than a service associate. You're investigating the death of Dr. David Ashore. Why wouldn't we take that seriously? Because you want me to go away. It's the board from Eva. No, yeah, exactly. I love the sound-only thing pop up, as if any of them would ever consider showing their faces. At least, half of you do. The others aren't sure yet. You must be confused. The board is, and always, united in its decisions and its visions for the direction of this company. Uh-huh. A board of directors is just 13 roulette-rolling psychopaths who get together and vote on whether or not to execute their CEO every 6 months. None of them would be where they are if they were anything else. But I happen to know how that kind of person thinks. The way I see it, there are two possible outcomes. Option 1, you oppose me. Shut me out completely, stonewall me, stall me, and wait for me to walk into trial so unprepared and ill-informed that I inevitably lose. Obviously, I don't like this option. But you can't be big fans of it either. If I lose, the world will learn that David Assure was killed by an android he programmed. Then every customer you've ever had, and every lawyer that they've ever seen on TV, and every firebrand, strapping young 60-year-old junior senator looking to make a name for themselves, will use your company balance sheet as their personal chew toy. The company is more than capable of, after which the state still might just gobble you whole, and throw down enough sanctions to de-person whoever among you cries no fair. The company and its allies at the Capitol can more than fend for themselves. Yes, probably, but not definitely, which makes it a gamble. Still my turn to talk? Then on to option 2. You cooperate with me. I use what you give me, or forge for me, to win at trial, proving that David wasn't killed by an android. When the markets open tomorrow morning, you all get another round of stock buybacks in on the initial dip. Then pat yourselves on the back for staying calm as you continue to profit off David's legacy for the next 100 years. And you won't even have to worry about him speaking out of turn. That's only if you win. If the company cooperates with you, denies that David was killed by, and the state beats you anyway, it would be catastrophic. Yeah, it's a gamble. But at least some of your board wasn't considering taking it, I wouldn't be here. We're all busy people, and I'd hate to drive a wedge between such a close-knit group of friends. So how about this? Option 3. Hedge your bets. What? Put a little on black, put a little on red. Spread the love and lower your risk profile. Don't make any statements about the trial. Tell the media the state's got your windpipe in a vice. Wait until just before the markets open Monday morning to send out your PR packages for rubber stamping. After you already know who's won. One way or another, this trial will be over before the end of day, and you'll never hear from me again. So just don't shut me out completely for another few hours. And does anyone second that motion? Very well. We can answer some of your questions, Counselor. Better make them count, then. No reason to be shy now. The poison that killed David Assure has been identified as synatonin. You're familiar? It's one of our many patented materials, as I recall. You recalled it pretty easily yesterday. Gee, what's changed? But intellectual property law can be very complex, Counselor. I'm not sure how much I or anyone at the company could tell you about synatonin at this time. Well, if you can't tell me about it, who could? You did lead its development, didn't you? Sound only, but only to young? Yeah, basically. I assume it's just a private line. Yes, I oversaw the project, which just makes it that much harder to speak freely without compromising the confidentiality of the teams that reported to me. I understand. Sounds like bullshit, and I don't believe it. But I'm not asking for trade secrets here. It's a perfect match for the only foreign substance found in his blood. Synatonin is what killed him. The state will say the same. That's not possible. Care to elaborate? I'm sorry, but I can't say any more at this time. So much for cooperating. And if I were to ask you as an officer of the court, then I would ask you to be patient and wait until this afternoon. ADA Rockford has already called me to testify. Already? Damn it. I got cocky because of the cops' late arrival. Emma must have gone straight for the throat first thing this morning, left the investigating for later. Hell, knowing her, she probably managed to ID the synatonin before she went to bed last night. So are we still having this conversation, then? As I said, I'm sorry, but I have to take more than just my personal feelings into consideration here. There's a great deal at stake. Corporate speak for you're too stupid to understand why I'm being dense. She's just trying to shield the company, plain and simple. LARPing as Helen Young d'Arc on a crusade against government overreach. But if she's that busy defending Noble, she might be leaving herself unguarded. Why is she here, anyway? Why am I speaking to her and not her lawyers? That's right. This is a vulnerable position for her. She wouldn't put herself in check like this. Not unless she was forced to. So that's it. Acting as their mouthpiece isn't some honor for her. This is a punishment. She's being used as a meat shield. They're upset with her, perhaps even suspicious of her. Time to find out why. Let's see. Sarah, jealousy, David's will. Blind's -5. Jealousy, I don't think will get us anywhere. David's will isn't a big deal. Sarah, she's being punished. Probably because she was there. I'm gonna go with David's will. Has David's will been located? It's never gone anywhere. It's still in a safety deposit box. We'll retrieve it and have it read once all the unknowns surrounding his death have been made into knowns. So David's will hasn't even become part of the equation yet. Might not be for weeks at this rate. Is that calculated, though? I'm gonna try and press. Aren't you dragging your feet? Afraid that there's something in that will that you'd rather not see the light of day? We are not the jealous in-laws who have been bribing the county sheriff, counselor. Shit. Anything we'd try to claim would inevitably be overturned as soon as the will is read. Surely you understand that, counselor. Of course. Definitely. Let's jump to the deep end. Whatever else in this court ends up labeling her, Sarah's a remarkably lifelike android. Had things worked out differently, you might have wanted her as the A16 poster girl, or A17, or 18. Could have driven a lot of sales, her cute little pout projected across the sides of skyscrapers. A hypothetical of a hypothetical. As has been made tragically obvious to all of us, that android is nothing like an A16. That it may yet be associated with our products going forward is nothing more than a massive liability. Yet you wouldn't have the A16 without her, and if they could take her apart and learn from her, they could have the world. So was the motive to try and pry Sarah away from him? I don't think she knew about Sarah. I'm gonna go with jealousy, I guess? I have to admit, I'm surprised you aren't more shaken up today, Miss Young. I'm processing. After all, you and David did have a history. You started at the same time, didn't you? Yes, we were colleagues and cordial with one another. Don't be so modest. You helped him create the one-point doctrine that saved the company. That is a gross exaggeration. Noble is far too large an organization to be affected by the contributions of any single individual. Suppose you're right. No one person could change the Noble's fortunes overnight. Except for David Assure, of course. But he was a once-in-a-generation talent. Guy Noble chose for the advertisements and the one they commissioned editorials about. Sorry, you're right. I shouldn't have equated the two of you. I just hoped his one-point doctrine doesn't fall out of favor now that he's gone. Yes, well, we certainly wouldn't want that. Well, she didn't expect it exactly explode with rage, but she definitely reacted. There's real jealousy there. Whether it ever boiled over, though? I didn't mean to pry about your relationship with David, or lack thereof. I suppose I'm just curious about his standing inside Noble as a whole. David Assure was, and always will be, an outstanding contributor to the company's forward progress. Nothing will ever change that. Not even if he was killed by one of his own creations. That would, of course, be a tragic element that would call for reconsideration of his legacy. She was almost off guard there. Like she was surprised for me to asking about Sarah ruining his reputation. Besides Sarah, David's reputation was crystal clean. He never went against the company once. Did he? That's... Unless I'm mistaken, he and Noble were on bad terms. In that case, I might get the impression to see that some parts of leadership were actually glad to see him taken off the chessboard. That is not... Something buzzing in your ear? Fine, I suppose it makes no difference if you hear it now or at the trial or on your feed tomorrow. Dr. David Assure was being sued by the company for breach of contract. Satisfied? Now we're talking. Well, then I suppose that's... Fucking blackjack, baby. There it is. Only went bust once. Much better than my track record with Phoenix Wright. So you couldn't have mentioned this breach of contract earlier. Not without complicating the company's position unnecessarily, no. But there's no hiding at this point. It'll all come out soon enough. There's a paper trail. Much more than that. We've been making moves to let him go for some time. Noble Electronics parting ways with David Assure must have been one hell of a breach of contract. What did he do? He betrayed the confidence of the board. Was he contesting the suit? Putting up a fight? Engaging in a legal battle against a mega corporation without even telling me? Until recently, yes. You mean until he died? How recently? We spoke on Friday. That was what you two talked about in his parlor? No, this was earlier in the day. We were in this room, actually. Him, me, and several members of our legal department. It was an arbitration. And did you come to an agreement? A compromise. He would resign from his position in 2 quarters, foregoing royalties on any products we would develop after the next 24 months. In exchange, he wouldn't be publicly fired, and he would still be credited on all past, present, and future filings. How very reasonable. On paper, maybe. No matter what the deal was, letting go of David Assure is insanity. Reasonable, yes. We ended on a good note, I'd like to think. We shook hands, even took a photo. Yeah, that looks... lovely. Something funny? I didn't know the board told jokes. They don't. That was legal, expressing their displeasure with how much paperwork my good note ending left them stuck with. Children. It was just one night of overtime. So that while they were spending their Friday night blowing the ink dry, you paid a visit to David's penthouse. Something left unfinished? Professionally, it was a good meeting. There was no yelling, no finger-pointing. Much cleaner than expected. But Dr. Assure did not want to retire. He didn't want to be forced out of the company when he was the one when he had contributed so much. I didn't enjoy doing that to him, so I came over that night to apologize to him. We talked, reminisced. When he brought out the drinks, I thought we'd be toasting to a new day. A few minutes later, he was dead. Because of that AI. That AI. Any idea how it came to be? As I said, I had no idea who was working on it. My question was more broad than that. If you really believe David built an AI, how do you think he did it? How does Noble Electronics think he managed to work around the tenants? It's quite beyond my area of expertise, and no one at the company could call themselves an expert in illegal technology. But some in the R&D department have theorized that he created what they call a wax-wane decaying priority loop, which, as I understand, is an unstable, resource-intensive theoretical method for pseudo-randomizing the weight amongst preset tenants. Well, about as far off target as it gets with that guess. But that kind of inelegant brute force nonsense seems a far cry from the kind of thing David would create, and I seem to have taken us over our allotted time slot. But I didn't even get to wave goodbye. You're serious about this trial. Don't I look it? You're not just making a play. You're actually going to defend that thing. I'm just defending myself, Miss Young. Oh, yes, of course you are. My mistake. I hoped you might be rooting for me, to tell you the truth. I may yet save everyone's stock options. The stock options will be all right either way. They always are. That gamble I offered your board, which outcome would you bet on? Finally, an easy question. What I would bet is that whatever the outcome, the company will eat it up and shit it out with very little difficulty. You painted an ugly picture back there, but I've already seen the future. And it's just another marketing gimmick. The great Dr. Assure, too smart, too bold, too far ahead of his time. What spark of his genius remains buried in the inspired animate 19? I guess that depends on... You were exactly right. He is more valuable to Noble as a dead man. The dead men can't step out of line or put their foot in their mouth or hold politically inconvenient opinions. To a good salesperson, a dead man is just another selling point. Pardon my outburst. I'm just tired. It's been a very long week for me. I'll let you prepare for your afternoon then, Dr. Young. No one calls me doctor. I asked them not to. You didn't want the title? All I've been able to think about was this with this game since the first time you played it. At times I have thought very little of it, the PhD I earned from a Noble-owned school. Biochemistry. Is the desk from the intro? Oh, true, yeah. Who reacted to the news of his death? Yeah. Biochemistry. Couldn't have been a large department at Noble before they started work on warm androids in earnest. Yeah, and that wasn't even like an android. That was a projection of like a preset intelligence. They probably didn't have many expectations for the program back when she was a part of it. But I was proud of it when I first got it. Something change? Never seemed to catch on. People didn't use it, so eventually I told people not to use it. Very high IQ social power play, you understand. David never insisted that people use it either. That's very different, and I think you know it. David Assure didn't have to. 2:50 p.m., July 2nd, 2086. I'm going into this trial, my trial, with a lot less ammunition than I'd like. I'm beginning to form a picture of what actually happened, maybe encircling the drain on a suspect. But Emma won't be generous enough to give me breathing room. She'll want to end this fast. Maybe if I do badly enough, it'll flip her sadistic switch and she'll want to keep playing. So you got charged with owning an AI. First time you do something exciting in your whole life. And I gotta find out through the fucking grapevine? My life is plenty exciting. Freckles. You could bore the polish off a resume-checking robot. I've fucked Catholic school teachers with more active night lives than you. Okay. So who'd you rope in? Anyone I know? Oh shit. Are you representing yourself? Fits within my budget. Screw your budget, you're going to jail. Thanks for the vote of confidence. It ain't a matter of how good a lawyer you are. Anyone who represents themselves in court has a fool for counsel. You represented yourself countless times. Not for anything I had a chance of losing. Your pal hasn't even been dead 48 hours. You're too close to this. You'll make mistakes. The powers that be really didn't want to give me a rain check. They're taking this very seriously. It's more dangerous than that. They're scared. Is there precedent? Her annoyed face, yeah. An ad committing murder. How'd you pass law school without learning how to look this stuff up? I know what the net says. I'm asking you. The answer to that is... not helpful to you at the moment. So what words of advice do you have? Get yourself a new lawyer. I gotta close this chat now. Don't lose, Freckles. I can't wait to interact with this character over something that isn't the phone. I'm glad that they made fucking Terrazy a hot gilf in this video game. You don't need to tell me that. What are you reading, Adonai? I was reading David's unemployment contract with Noble Electronics before I got waylaid by spam texts. The one that was found inside the panic room? It looks quite extensive. Should I skim it for you? Depends. Did you pass the bar exam since we last spoke? You comfortable? I am not. Ever seen that old movie with the gorilla and the skyscraper? They bring it to the city and... I understand the analogy, Adonai. I love that effect, like the thing bouncing on people's heads. Yeah. I wish I could call it overkill, but considering the specs Sarah put up yesterday, maybe those bindings aren't heavy enough. Come to think of it, those numbers must have been faked along with the rest of what the machine read. If that was all a smokescreen David added to help her lay low, then her actual strength is more like... If your joints weren't currently locked up tighter than a vice, do you think you could escape this place? I hope that question is not indicative of your strategy. This is me trying to distract you, Sarah. Enjoy the hypothetical. I would estimate that the building's automated security would put 9 holes in me before I reached the door. 9's not so bad. I would not be able to function after the 7th. Ah. Well, if you haven't been planning some great escape, I would not do that. That would be illegal. And you would still be on trial. I remember. So what have you been doing all day, then? I'm attempting to recover memories from Friday. You can do that? It is not dissimilar from the process of recovering data erased from any other computer, despite the difference in scale. I won't be able to remember everything, but if successful, I could recall individual pieces of information that could prove useful. Hey, streamer. Hi. Are you going to tell me that the Stream Elements bot is still running? Because I know. Yeah, it is advertising to you. Go play a gacha game and make me money, but don't spend money on polls. That's dumb. Start a new account and make me some money. That's a lot of coulds. And even if you're successful, you might not like what you find. Whatever happened that day, either you or David wanted you to forget it. Yes, but even so, I have to remember. Because it's the last day that Father and I... Any luck so far, then? I can recall a slightly musty scent. Wow! Case closed! What about you, Adonai? Have you formulated a plan for the trial's proceedings? Something like that. Young insists that serotonin isn't what killed David. I don't buy it. There's no other explanation for how he died. So she is lying? And if she repeats that lie on the stand, I'll need to expose it. Somehow. Somehow. Would she really commit perjury to protect Noble? To protect one of Noble's patents? She doesn't strike me as quite the corporate zealot she makes herself out to be. But you believe she had something to do with Father's death. What do you think? I don't know. I don't know why anyone would kill Father. How it goes at Bud. I'm having a good time. I like Of the Devil. It goes good. Considering the possible consequences of what he confessed to in his journal, I can think of... But then again, I don't understand why anyone would kill anyone. Do you? Bells tolling for thee. Means that the doors to the courtroom are unlocked. Let's... Wait, can you walk like that? Waddle will have to do. Wait a second, across the hall, that's... Keep waddling, Sarah. I'll catch up. As you say, Adonai, did you know I love clowns? That's news. But if you asked me if you would be into a clown girl, I would say yes. This will be a coin toss. You that surprised to see me? I'm not surprised you'd want to see the outcome of this trial. I am surprised you'd want to talk to me. You're defending the android, right? Yeah. I'm defending Sarah's innocence. I don't think she killed David. Do you like the giant judge bot? How could I not? She's wonderful. Also, I'm being honest with this guy because he's not a corporate stooge. Do you? I don't think it matters. Noble is what killed David. Whether it was with a pen stroke or a sleeper agent killer android or plain old goddamn arsenic, how could anyone that smart be that dumb? Well, the smartest people are the dumbest people. This is just fact. Why the hell did he ever sign his soul over to them? David may have been in over his head, but he wasn't a bad negotiator. I've read his contract. His position was strong. You're the lawyer. But a guy like me, working in music, can't tell you how many people I've seen screwed over by a big smile and a fat signing bonus. No such thing as corporate generosity. Oh, speaking of a fat signing bonus, in high school, I did a fucking, military aptitude, like, exam or something. It was, like, optional, but I was like, fuck it, I can get out of a class and just do this, so why not? Got a 90th percentile in engineering, and they offered me a job as a fucking... They offered me, like, training and a job as a nuclear engineer. It had, like, a fucking $1 million signing bonus. And I brought it to my parents, and they were like, you are not fucking joining the military. And it's like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, that tracks. If you think you're getting a good deal, it's only because you don't know how much you just sold. How much you just sold. David's real wealth lay in his intellectual property. The potential energy of it hanging over the whole industry. I mean, that's not, like, it's not, their answer isn't surprising at all. In the 60s, my mom was a full-on hippie. If he sued even 1% of the companies taking inspiration from his Turing solution, there's a clause in his contract. If Noble ever did fire David, he would have retained control over all his patents afterward. Yeah, see, that sounds nice. Only they never did fire him, did they? He just happened to die. An unforeseeable act of God. In contract law, they call that force majeure. Morgan, you're escaping. You haven't. Okay, no, she escaped. For me, I would currently be a nuclear military engineer. Well, I fucking wouldn't be. I had so many brain problems that I didn't know about. They would be like, you're telling me that you have chronic depression, ADD, and you're transgender? Fucking get out of here. I said, did you find anything interesting in the contract, Adonai? A few things, yeah. Basically, David was well taken care of, so long as they kept him around. And he'd retain control of his patents even after being let go. But what Porter said... What do you mean? You can work for Boeing like the rest of the clowns? And what, get assassinated? Get fucking whistleblower, like, shot in the back of the head for being a whistleblower? Logically, if David were to pass while still employed, Noble would continue to control the bulk of his IP. So if they knew David was going to leave in a year, it would be very foolish of them to let Father go. Well, they wouldn't do it for no reason. With his contract, he could only be fired for serious offenses. Corporate malfeasance, revealing trade secrets, fraud. Father was not a fraud. He was, as they say, the greatest of all time. Fraud just means lying to the company about something, Sarah. Oh. She was like, my dad was the GOAT, and I'll kill you for saying otherwise. He was the GOAT. Yeah, exactly. Did you figure it out yet? Figure out who killed him? No. My assumption is that the cup was poisoned long before Sarah handed it him to have a drink out of. Eyes up. Showtime. Counselor Morgan, the state charges you with possession of contraband. Contraband? That'd be you. In violation of the Safeguarding Our National Digital Security Act. How do you plead? Not guilty. I beat this chapter 3 days after it came out. Well, some of us don't have that luxury because we have to do our jobs. Very well, since it seems that we are, in fact, doing this. Yay, she's still here! Let's go! I will now turn over the administration of the trial to the adjutant. But be warned, any attempt at stalling or muddling the issue, and I'll step right in and override the trial myself. Summary judgment, siding with the people. Are we understood? Yes, Your Honor. Are we going to have the same adjutant as we had before? I fucking hope so. No way. Each courthouse only has so many bodies, but the personalities swap around all the time. So the chances of us dealing with the same glitchy mess as yesterday are... Glad to be back! Did y'all miss me? Forget I said anything. I'll just crawl under a rock and die while you make your opening statements. Ahem. The defendant is the owner of the android registered under the model name Sarah, with license number 12029-280. She hasn't contested this, and I doubt she will. So the question of ownership is already answered. All that remains is to determine whether Sarah qualifies as contraband. It's a charming android, incredibly well made, a masterpiece, and the last known work of a great man. But when we look at the evidence and the facts surrounding the death of Dr. Ashur, we're forced to conclude that said android is responsible for his death. And that conclusion carries very serious implications. I will prove here in court today that the machine standing there killed Dr. David Ashur. Not through an accident or mismanaged dosage, but through an intentional poisoning. I won't ask the court to judge this machine on its apparent sentience, its range of emotions, or the free will it may or may not possess. Emma has, like, J cups. I didn't really look down last time. Tired bitches have big tits. The sleepiness that makes them grow. I only ask that the court judge this creation on what we will prove it to be more than capable of. Then where are mine? You have to be sleepy for longer. You also have to take more estrogen. Patricide. Oof, wouldn't want to have to follow that act. But go for it anyway, defense! Your Honor, what the DA said is true. What did she just say? Did she just admit it? She's built like Janako Fate Extra CCC. True. Sorry, just the first part. This android is charming, and it is the work of a great man. The rest of it was pure speculation based on little more than a few bad camera angles and a phobia of anything new. I do own the android you see here. It was bequeathed to me by a man known to most of the people in this courtroom as the father of modern machine intelligence. To me, he was just my friend. And if I thought at any point that this puppet had anything to do with his death, I would have dragged it to the chopping block myself. But I don't believe that. I never have. Cher should do her smug pose every time someone calls her charming. She can't. Her hands are bound together. Sarah's an android, or bound to the like bolts at the ground, or like her legs probably. Sarah's an android, nothing more. It is incapable of homicide, and it didn't even commit manslaughter. She could do the face. That's fair. She is basically on death row, though. It's just a well-made machine. Any fears one has about its capabilities are projections. Nothing more. And it troubles me greatly that the state is spending valuable time and resources on rushing to pulverize Dr. Ashur's last known work. They're feeding her to the Hydra later. I think Sarah could kill a Hydra. When it could be going after the very real, very human forces that were responsible for his death. Is she serious? Is she talking about Noble? The people can't prove that Sarah's an AI. And truth be told, I can't prove that it isn't. But I can prove that it's not guilty. Not in those binds? Oh yeah, true. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Chills. You sounded very confident, Adonai. Yeah, well, no one ever got good at lying by being modest. You could have simply said thank you. Maybe so. She's still thinking about it. Thank you for your presence here today, Detective London. In light of the new evidence, I'd like to go over the death of Dr. Ashur one more time. What happened Friday night? At 6:30 p.m., David Assure spoke on the phone with his lover, and the two of them broke things off. Lover? It's an accurate description of their relationship, isn't it? I wouldn't know. That stuff's private. Ed and I. Then the deceased met with Noble VP Helen Young in his parlor starting at 7:30 p.m. Prude. No, that's becoming clear to me. Even him mentioning it, the word lover, just reminds me of fucking 30 Rock with the main character just being like, ugh, lover, it's so gross. Ew. Say something else. He then left the parlor in the sightlines of his home security system, before reappearing on his private secondary security system in his basement, moments later. At which point, the android Sarah can be seen handing him the poison he'd go on to drink. And do you see that android in the courtroom? Yeah, she's the green-haired one that's frowning at me. Let the record show that the android Sarah has been identified at the scene of the crime. No objections. None. Why'd I even show up? Detective London, what happened next? Assure went upstairs and shared a drink with Miss Young. Within a few minutes, he was being airlifted to the hospital, where he was soon declared dead. We know the poison could be produced by his nanofacturer, which Sarah had access to just up the stairs in his workshop. So Sarah had ample opportunity to procure the poison, and Sarah handled Dr. Assure's cup immediately before he did. Is there a question in that statement, Your Honor? I'll rephrase. Was anyone else seen handling Dr. Assure's cup before he died? No. I have no further questions. So that's your witness, counselor? He wasn't lying per se, but there was some ambiguity in the statement he gave. Truth's gotta come out one way or another. If Emma won't push, I'll have to pull. Talk screen, okay. Basement footage of Sarah handing David the cup whiskey, which didn't have anything in it. 6:30 p.m., Dr. Stewart broke up over the phone. 7:30, Helen Young arrived. They spoke briefly, and then he went downstairs to get drinks for them. Cameras in the basement show Sarah handing him the cups and the whiskey. So after he came back to the parlor and started drinking, it wasn't long until he lost consciousness and died. Drinking poisoned whiskey while he thought was having a toast. Don't know if that's a good way or a bad way to go out. Okay, so the whiskey wasn't poisoned, so I'm just gonna fucking throw whiskey at him. Piss! That the best you got? I didn't think it was all that bad. Depends on the grading curve. I'll give you an F. Overruled. I need to choose my responses more carefully than that. Well, I would like to look at the evidence. Okay, talk screen. Alcohol is the only thing positively identified at the time. And then it was the video and then the whiskey. And don't blitz through this page next time. I'll blitz through whatever I want. Footage recovered by cameras that Sarah handing the David the red plastic cups that Young would drink from at 7:38 p.m. And then the whiskey. Forensic analysis shows no foreign elements or toxins. Well, see, that's what I was just going for, but whatever. Basement footage, whiskey. 6:30, broke up over the phone. 7:30, Young arrived. Spoke briefly, and then he went downstairs to get drinks for them. Cameras in the basement show Sarah handing him cups and the whiskey. Well, she didn't hand him the whiskey. Parlor wasn't long until he lost consciousness and died. Drinking poison whiskey while he's... Okay. I'm gonna double check that it says... It only says the cups. Just the plastic cups, yeah. So I'm gonna try that next. There we go. Necco Morgue. Yeah, of course. Check the footage again, Detective London. We only see Sarah handing the victim a cup. He had already retrieved the whiskey himself. Oh yeah, forgot about that. Detective London just wasn't being specific enough, Your Honor. But it matters little, since it was David's cup, not the whiskey bottle, that was poisoned. Weird flex, but okay. And that undeniable fact is shown clearly in the security footage. Sarah hands him the cup after he was ready to leave. True, she did call David back and handed him a cup of poison? That seems logical. That wouldn't make sense. I mean, did she call him back? Just handing David the... She didn't know which one he would drink from, though. That's true. Like, she phrased it in a logical way, but... It seems like a, like... I guess it's not a question of whether or not Sarah thought it through, but whether or not she called him back and handed him cups that she knew were poisoned. I'll raise. Fuck you. She's probably a smarter opponent than the average Godot. Oh no, she definitely is. If the cup was already poisoned, don't you think David would have noticed it wasn't empty? Well, not necessarily. The lethal dose could have been quite small. For just a droplet, he could have easily overlooked it. For Sarah, this crime was very simple. There was too little to the plan for anything to go wrong. Once she handed it off, she just had to wait for him to drink from his cup. Is that all she'd have needed to do? Yeah, it wasn't enough to poison David because of what Valerie said. Don't know which cup he would drink from. Not a great plan if that really was Sarah's move. She gave him 2 cups. How could she have known which cup David would drink from? There are a few ways to go about it. But it's only a 50-50 shot, counselor. Stranger things have happened. It's possible that she knew the right cup. There's no way to know the right cup. No, I would say there's no way to know the right cup. They're identical solo cups. Don't try and bluff me, Rockford. There was no difference between the cups. It's not a bluff. Sarah handed the cups to him in one stack with the poison hidden in the bottom cup. Fuck, it was in the bottom. Shit. She knew David was courteous and would pour for his guest first. Oh, ass. And he wouldn't even look into the poison cup until he was already pouring. Okay, I only lost 3. Cold-blooded patch... Okay, no, that's 4. Oh, that's a lot more than 4. Okay. Damn, she was luring me in with those easy answers. And I fell for it. Now, are there some questions you'd like to ask the detective while he's available? Or are you done already? I was just about to get started. If I didn't have questions, I'd make some up just to spite you at this point. But I can do better than that. Now, what can I get London to say that would help my case? Ad involved crime, tenants and the police. He already talked about the footage, but these seem off topic. Uninstall, resign your license, live in the wood, never to be seen again. I got tricked one time. You guys purchase and play this game to support the dev. Now. Ad involved crime seems like a nothing statement because the tenants specifically prevent crime. It was way more than that last time. Maybe. Detective London, in their capacity as assistants to the police force, are androids ever asked to commit acts of violence? Yeah, I guess so. They can push people, restrain them, harm them. And does that constitute a violation of their tenets, harming the people they're supposed to protect? Girl, I bought you the chapter when I bought mine. I know. I'm talking to everybody else who's fucking throwing rocks at me. It's just Valerie. You were straight up getting owned, idiot. I got tricked once. One time. Well, as I understand it, there might be some complex weighing math that goes into it, but no, it's not breaking any tenants. For that to be the case, you'd have to have a tenant 1, right? May not injure through an action lead to blah, blah, blah. One time and lost like 30 chips. Every single one of those besides the last one was 1 chip. I was making sure. I was at 80 something and now I'm down to 73. I just checked. Yes, I suppose that would have to be the case, wouldn't it? Are you asking me? What do you mean? Lost like 9,000 chips. It's outside his expertise. Fine. I'll ask about ad-involved crime. Fine. It seems like the one that there's no point in asking, so I should probably ask that one first. Detective, do you know how many violent incidents the city's police have investigated in the last year? Not the exact number. Thousands, though. Yeah, around there. And of the thousands of incidents of violence, do you know how many of them were found to be the fault of automated dependents? I believe there's been 6 in the last 5 years. I can unshrimp and hydrate. Were all 6 of them incidents of police-licensed ad-involved brutality? Relevance, Your Honor. Withdrawn. How many tenants protect humans? He wouldn't know that, would he? Because I just asked him about tenants and he fucking didn't know shit. I guess I'll ask about the footage. Detective, in the footage we just saw, could you see what Sarah was doing? Not exactly, no. Her back was to the camera and her hands were obscured. You have to lock in or you won't get chips to buy phone charms and backgrounds. I am as... Actually, I mean, I would say I'm as locked in as I possibly could be, but that's not true because I'm streaming right now. So I'm not going to lock in. I'm going to continue talking to you guys. Her back was to the camera and her hands were obscured. Could you see her hands from any other clip of the camera footage retrieved from the basement? No. Did you or anyone else participating in the investigation ever see Sarah put anything into David Assure's cup? No. The footage submitted to the record is the best available view of what's happened. I have to press. What about the view from the android itself? Well, yeah, if we could see through the android's eyes, that'd be pretty conclusive. If we could trust any data touched by her. What am I supposed to press on? Fucking... Everything I've pressed, like, they want me to press this? This is what I should press on after he didn't know shit about tenants before? As an aside, Detective, do you know how many tenants are recognized in this country? 110? 112 as of last year. Couldn't you have given me that one? Do you know how many of those tenants pertain to protecting humans from harm? That one I do know. 41. How does he know that? And lastly, Detective, how many times in the last, say, century have we seen automated dependents break their tenants? 5 times is the agreed upon number. Because he's a cop? It was a similar question, and he couldn't even hazard a guess and made us look stupid in the last one. So if you were to tally that all up and try to make an evaluation as a police officer charged with protecting civilians, overall you would say that automated dependents in general are how dangerous to the public? The witness is not an expert on automated dependents, Your Honor. He's more than qualified to say whether they have a history of violence, Your Honor. Ah, what the heck? Let him answer! I would have to say that they are not dangerous. Normally that would have brought me some doubt with the jury, but this isn't a traditional trial. At least I can say I shored up my own confidence. It wasn't about tenants cops care about. It was about tenants and the police, and tenants for them committing crimes, and whether or not they could have, whether or not that would break tenants. Alright, seems like that's as close as I'm gonna get to... As close as I'm gonna get to Blackjack? We got Blackjack. We got there. I got punched in the head like 4 separate times, but we got there. I believe I've made my point. I have no more questions for this witness, Your Honor. Then we can move on to the next item on the docket. Looks like Emma wants to introduce some new evidence. I call Sarah to the stand. The android? Can she even do that? Approach, Your Honor? Your blind is now -10. Yes, I can read. Oh, you're approaching me? I believe that's me they wanted to speak with. I didn't even get to finish my line. Now then, what the hell are you doing, Rockford? Took the words right out of my mouth. I have questions for the android. This seemed like the best way to get answers. You can't call an android as a witness. It's not a person. You're gonna have like 2 chips by the end? The point is winning, Teeps. The point is winning. There's plenty of precedence for it. Ads provide testimony all the time. Not when they're on trial. Sarah isn't on trial. You are. Sarah is accused of being an AI. That means you don't trust a word out of its mouth. If the witness isn't to be trusted, the court can decide that for itself after hearing their testimony. Why the ambush? Why'd you list this as entering evidence, DA Rockford? Only people can be witnesses, Your Honor, and ads don't have legal personhood. Evidence seemed like the best-worst descriptor. You know I can't make an android swear an oath. Rockford is just trying to spoil your opinion, Your Honor. The more this court treats Sarah like a person, the more you'll see her as human, and the weaker my case becomes in your eyes. Nice try, Counselor, but we don't have time to worry about my impartiality. You're free to call for a mistrial if you want, but the state will have turned Sarah to slag before you even finish signing your motion. Rockford's calling a witness that is blatantly hostile to her case. If the witness is hostile, so be it. It did kill a man, after all. Allegedly. What about the right to avoid self-incrimination? Who's the one treating Sarah like a person now? Androids don't have rights. I didn't do that. Damn it, that's... The android will take the stand. Your Honor, I've made my decision. And if Sarah refuses to take the stand, are you going to charge it with contempt of court? If the machine won't talk, you'll make every effort as its owner to ensure that it does. And if it disobeys you, then we'll have our answer about its sentience right then and there. Yes, Your Honor. Shit. What's going on? The DA is going to question you on the stand. What? But I shouldn't... Listen to me. You don't have a choice right now. This is happening. Tell the truth, but be concise. The more robotic, the better. Yes or no's only if you can. Would using affirmative and negative be laying it on too thick? But Adonai, if I make a mistake, all these people, they want to destroy me. If you make a mistake, your lawyer will just have to cover for you. Understand? Yes. You are the android and identified as Sarah, correct? Affirmative. Do you deny that this camera footage shows you handling the poison cup? Objection. It remains to be seen whether the cup itself was definitively poisoned. Yes, yes. Sarah, do you deny handling that cup to David Ashore? Negative? I have no memory of the incident, so I can neither confirm nor deny it. Do you have any reasoning, any excuse for your actions, for failing to notify police of crucial information? I do not have any records from that day, so I never had anything to tell anyone. Very well, Counselor. The journal, if you will. This could be a slaughter. Of course. Do you recognize this item? It's a journal that belongs to Dr. David Ashore. I have seen him write it on many occasions. And have you any knowledge of its contents? Negative. You don't have to answer that, actually. Tell the court what you see here in this footage. I see myself reading the journal in the basement. This footage was captured on Friday, the day you claim to have no memory of. So regardless of what you do or don't remember, we know that you read this journal hours before David Ashore died. That is logical. I'd like you to read some passages from it for the court. Can you do that? Of course. Page 238, the 10th line. Sarah is growing faster than I ever expected, beyond my wildest dreams or fears. Today, she... Continue, please. Today she broke every password I have in the house. Said she was curious. I can't expect to keep things from her forever. Page 251, line 12. I've gravely underestimated the scope of things. Sarah could change everything, and I don't think I could stop her. He wasn't... Page 263. Damn it. If this keeps up, Sarah's gonna fall to pieces up there. No. We're helping Sarah. I'm objecting. I don't care if it costs me chips. Badgering, Your Honor. Badgering what witness, counselor? I'm just making the android do some simple tasks. Damn it, I can't raise an objection when Sarah's got no legal status for me to defend. Worth it. Page 263, I said. I think Sarah was angry today. When I came back from work, she had ripped a zinc alloy plate in half. She said she was testing her strength, but the cameras... That was... Page 267. Sarah scared me today. If she starts bawling on the stand, it's all over. Your Honor! I fail to see the value in continuing this line of questioning. Dr. Ashur was wary of a highly experimental android he was building, as any good scientist would be. That's been established. Do the people have a counter-argument? I have just one last question, if it pleases the court. Let's hear it. This footage was captured in the basement on Friday at around 5:30 p.m. Tell the court what you see. I see myself, standing where I read the journal. I'm speaking to someone who's off camera, and I appear agitated, and I stomp my foot. And what happens to the floor after you stomp your foot? A large crack is made in the vulcanized polymer, and I walk off camera towards whomever I had been speaking to. Speaking or shouting. Asked and answered? Not really, but I'll withdraw the comment nonetheless. Your witness, counselor, or evidence, if you prefer. Damn, I know she could cherry pick all the worst passages from the journal, but still. If Barrows wasn't wavering before, should I try to have Sarah read the mushy parts? No, the waterworks would start after only a few lines. Emma went to all that trouble to show how emotionally developed Sarah is. Proving that she loved David like a father would be playing right into her hand. What do you say, counselor? Got some burning cues for the android to answer? Yes, Your Honor, just one moment. Emma went for emotion, and the impact was devastating, so all I can do is focus on the facts. So let's flip this around. Say Sarah absolutely didn't poison David. If that's the case, why did she call him back on his way out of the basement? Wait, that's... I'd actually like to ask you to read from the journal again, Sarah. You would? From where? From the section that explains what you were actually trying to do that night. The section of his journal detailing his early career, I think, was what it was about, right? Look around the early section. There should be an entry talking about an early victory at Noble. Relevance! The people will see in just one moment that this story is key to this entire case. Got approval from overseas. Had to make pitch again this week, Young says. Brought me a stack of plastic cups. Here's to a bright future together. And then on this next page, another victory for the young and sleepless. Helen convinced the president of Futures over lunch that my code should be the basis for the Animate 13's conversational tracking. She insisted on toasting, the same crappy booze in the same cheap cups. Wants to make a tradition. Plastic cups and liquor, a ritual between Helen Young and David Ashur, who are about to have a drink together Friday night. Something you want to say, counselor? Let's put all our cards on the table, shall we? You want to compare theories? If you'd rather I end this now, I'd be happy to oblige. Here's what we know. Sarah read the journal and discovered what she was. It infuriated her, and she wanted revenge for being kept under her maker's thumb. That very night, she got her chance when Dr. Ashur came down looking for a drink. So like the clever little helper she is, she offered him a cup to drink out of. We're completely in agreement on all that. So you also agree that the cup was poisoned, and that Sarah's responsible for his death. Not quite. It's not a bad explanation, Miss Rockford, but it is terribly complex. There's a much simpler reason for why Sarah did what she did. Isaac's call. Psychiatrist. Sarah's papers. Young's story. Well, I think it's just the young story, right? The story from the journal. You're saying Sarah wasn't planning anything. She was just being considerate. That's so sweet! But I don't follow it, like, at all. It's actually quite simple. Sarah's not an AI. She only threw a tantrum that day because she found out she was being spied on. A realistic reaction for an android designed to be realistic. David Assure said her memory to be cleared himself because he wanted to preserve the experiment he was running. Sarah didn't hatch a plan to poison him using an obscure chemical acquired from the lab. And she didn't subtly manipulate David into drinking from only one of 2 cups. Because the android read the whole journal that day. Meaning she also read how David and Young used to celebrate. And so when she saw David was leaving the basement without the nostalgic cups, she called him back to hand them to him. Simple, right? Occam's razor? Simple enough for me, but not nearly good enough for me. What's more likely, Miss Rockford, that a well-made, clever android proposed a sentimental addition to 2 friends' evening, or that a homegrown AI with groundbreaking physical and digital abilities concocted a complicated poisoning scheme? Just to kill an unimposing man, all on camera, mind you, before voluntarily submitting to a memory wipe. People make all kinds of stupid mistakes when they commit crimes, Counselor. We shouldn't expect an AI to act much differently. Is it stupid or dangerous? Can't have it both ways, Your Honor. We can't if it's ignorant of its power and still immature. A deadly trait to have in an AI that's capable of anything. Shall we see what Sarah's capable of then, Your Honor? What? You can't be... Your Honor, that's... The people open the door. True, and I can't resist open doors. Let's do it! What are you even... Sarah, David Assure was your creator and designated owner, correct? Should I still be using affirmative? And now that title falls to me. Yes? Great, thank you. Now turn off. What? Shut down. That's a command. Power on. What are you? Off. On. Adonai, I don't. Off. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is what this fearsome machine menace is capable of. I can put it to sleep with one word. So how could David Assure ever be threatened by it? Scary. Scary, good logic. You've made your point, Counselor. Let's move it along. I've no further queries for the machine, Your Honor. That face is hot. The one where she's like, oh my god. I got wet from the Counselor saying shit. Again. Thank you. For flipping you off and on? No, Morgans. Okay, fair enough. Can't imagine that was comfortable. It wasn't. But I wasn't referring to that. Since yesterday, I've been searching for an answer to why I appeared on that camera. I know I would never hurt Father, but you helped me prove that to myself just now. Adonai? Pardon me, I need to focus. Everything depends on this next witness. The people call Helen Young to the stand. Helen Young, Vice President of Android Futures at Noble Electronics, Eastern Division. Miss Young, you were there the night Dr. Assure died, and you were on camera the entire time. That's correct. So what did you see that night? I arrived at 7:30 p.m., as you know. David and I talked in the parlor, then he left to retrieve some refreshments for us. After drinking together for a short while, he fell ill. I contacted emergency services, and I'm sure you're all tired of hearing the same details over and over by now. The same details over and over aren't going to hold up anymore, Madame Veep. It's still unclear to me whether Young's more concerned with protecting herself or the almighty company. But it'll clear up real fast if I can turn up the pressure on her here and now. So I got the journal, arbitration, and the story. I know the story. Arbitration, it was a clean break, right? That was the whole thing. David Assure met with Helen Young and a team of noble lawyers to set the terms of his resignation the afternoon before he died. So, ideally, I think I could probably needle her about them firing her. Set of the meeting controlled every aspect from the refreshments to the timing in line with the coworker's description of her detail-oriented personality. And she's also obsessed with being in control of everything. Personal journal of David Assure, firing David, yeah. Because they were planning to fire him in 2 quarters. The personal journal of David Assure with entries dating back to several years ago. Early entries describe how he and Helen Young used to drink cheap liquor together from plastic cups. Later entries detail Sarah's early growth and David's feelings towards her, and they're both dated a week ago. Okay. Force femmed him. It wouldn't be forced. Just looking at how he chooses to dress, I don't think forcing would be involved. I came to David's at 7:30. We chatted for a short while and about some low-priority work, nothing heavy. Before long, he offered to fetch us some refreshments. When he came back, we shared a drink together. At the time, I didn't notice anything strange. Also, chatted about nothing. It was chatting about something heavy. I think that's it. Then he became ill, ran to the kitchen to activate his emergency console, and I did what I could up until he was gone. Okay, so it was low priority work. And then arbitration. There we go. The 3D witness stand is cool. Yeah, I really like transposing 2D characters on 3D environments. It's very interesting. Nothing heavy. You're both more professional than I realized. Since only hours earlier, you had run a meeting in which his employment was terminated. His employment wasn't terminated at the arbitration you're referring to. His resignation was merely agreed upon. Yes, and we can all imagine how grateful he felt about the whole process. David didn't hold grudges. Our conversation wasn't about that. The fact that you had fired him that afternoon didn't come up. Asked and answered. Who initiated the meeting at his penthouse? I arrived unannounced. So you weren't invited. Very cordial indeed. If he didn't want to see me, he could have stopped at the elevators. Could he have? Noble owned that entire building down to the wiring. Counsel is badgering the witness, Your Honor. Huh? Right. Should we execute her for that, then? No need. If I can just continue my questioning, we can finally start addressing the elephant in the room. Where? Oh, I see. It was a joke. Hilarious. Scared of elephants. Miss Young, Noble Electronics owns a patent for and produces a synthetic biochemical known as synatonin, correct? That's correct. It's used in our warm models to facilitate integration and communication between organic and synthetic components. It's an artificial neurotransmitter? Essentially, yes. Synthetic analog serotonin was the original name. Did you bring the sample I requested to the courtroom today? She's so big and stupid. I love her. How could you not? I did. Synatonin is produced on-site at our assembly lines as a caramel-tinted solution, including water and a few non-reactive organic byproducts. Your analysis, Your Honor? Working on it. It's odorless and tasteless. A solution of water and organic byproducts, you said. If that solution were ingested, most of it would look right at home in a human body. I suppose. But the synatonin would stand out, wouldn't you say? It's not a naturally occurring compound, so yes. And it's a perfect match for the substance previously labeled Delta. Vial of synatonin, provided by Helen Young. Exact match for the unknown substance found in David Assure's bloodstream. Okay. And the samples we collected from the nanofacturer present at Dr. Assure's lab? That's a bingo! Witness's brown stuff matches your brown stuff down to a T. In light of the evidence in the witness's testimony, I motion that the court formally recognizes that Dr. Assure's cause of death was synatonin poisoning. I don't object, Your Honor, but I'm afraid I must. Oh, she got horny from that. Excuse me? Serotonin may very well have been in his body when he died, but serotonin didn't kill Dr. Ashur. What the hell is she up to? It couldn't have. It couldn't kill anybody. What? Because it's non-toxic, of course. We designed it to affect androids, not people. Hold on, you're now claiming that Dr. Ashur died of, what, natural causes? I can't say what he died of. I'm not a medical expert. Girl just gets off on drama. That is a personality trait you would want in a judge. Or at least one that you want to be funny. But I can easily prove that serotonin is harmless. She's gonna drink it. How could you? Like so. Didn't see that one coming. What? What? That ain't good. Bailiff, contact the hospital immediately. I told you it's fine. But I can stand here all day if necessary. What in the... And what you just drank was several hundred times the amount found in Dr. Ashur's body. Why didn't you say anything until now? Noble Electronics is a multinational corporation with patents filed all over the world. We take the protection of our trade secrets very seriously. The production and nature of serotonin is closely guarded. The guard remains up even during a murder investigation, unfortunately. I would have been able to tell you earlier had you asked directly. What the hell kind of... This can't be right. Nothing else makes sense. Boy, howdy, I'm lost as hell. But do you have any further questions, Rockyford? Not at the moment, Your Honor. And the defense, prosecution's own witness, just threw the entire case into question. Normally, this would be cause for celebration, but shadow of doubt isn't enough this time. Bears would much rather bring down the gavel early than let a potential AI walk free. What Young did was shocking, but what I need to do hasn't changed. Think this through, logically. Is it really possible that serotonin had nothing to do with David's death? No, that's bullshit. Can't be a coincidence. There's nothing else that could have killed him. But Young just drank serotonin in front of us and she's fine. So was it fake? I assume it reacts with alcohol. That's my thought process. When metabolized when it metabolized alongside alcohol, presumably it causes poisoning. Or it amplifies the effect of alcohol by an extreme degree. No, it was just confirmed by the court computer to be the genuine article. So she drank poison, but isn't showing any symptoms. Is it slow acting? If so, her grand gesture would be pointless. She'll be kept for observation regardless of what happens next. Plus, her testimony previously states that almost immediately after drinking the whiskey, Dr. Ashur collapsed. Did she take some kind of antidote beforehand? No, antidotes are developed for poison, not industrial chemicals. David's dead. She's alive. What made the difference? Wake up! No sleeping on the job. Unless you're me. Of course, Your Honor. Allow me one moment to explain things to the court. We've confirmed just now that serotonin was the foreign compound in his body. And we all know logically that it must have been what killed David Ashur. So what's the key difference between what David drank that night and what she drank in front of us just now? Whiskey. Bam. The difference has been staring us in the face this whole time. Do you recognize this, Miss Young? That's the whiskey bottle that Dr. Ashur and I drank from. Rose River. It's a good whiskey. And I think you had the right idea. Pardon? Bottoms up. She's drinking delicious whiskey. Smooth. What? Adonai? Dear God, counselor. Scandalous. Relax, it's just whiskey. Tested a dozen times over. Perfectly safe. So would you like to try some, Miss Young? Don't be absurd. I'm not going to drink on the witness stand. Have you lost your mind? I'm not asking you to get plastered. Just have a sip. After all, if we want to prove whether or not serotonin killed Dr. Ashur, we have to recreate the conditions under which he ingested it by mixing it with alcohol. Oh, that is That is a sour face. She did not like that. Go ahead, then. Just a taste. Prove to us that Cinetonin is perfectly safe for human consumption. Is this... Can she do this? Miss Young. I never said it was safe for human consumption, just that it's non-toxic. A distinction without a difference. You saw firsthand Dr. Assure confused, slurring his speech, complaining of a headache. All symptoms of poisoning. Alcohol poisoning, that is. Go ahead, witness. Drink this whiskey and blow up. Fully die on the stand, it'll be funny. Cinetonin is a neurotransmitter analog. Maybe it doesn't do anything in the human body its own, but the combination with alcohol, it acts as a powerful depressant. One strong enough to turn a glass or two of whiskey into a lethal overdose. That's just... Even if that is the case, what does it change? It changes whether or not we can accept the witness's testimony. Even if this witness is a liar, what does that change? Why would the witness lie, if not to... She's a corporate climber. I imagine it's like breathing for her. Your Honor, this is wild, but ultimately irrelevant. Irrelevant? When you've yet to establish an alternative interpretation of the facts. Yes. What are you even accusing the witness of doing, Counselor, beyond angling for a promotion? We've all seen this story by now. Noble android saves soldier's life with a warm blood transfusion. They're talking about putting warm androids in the military just because of that headline. With the size of their flesh and blood price tag, a defense contract like that would secure Noble untold profits for years. So imagine the lengths they'd go to hide the fact that their androids have poison in their veins. Dawes told me the truth about what Noble really thinks of that article, but he'd never testified to it. At least I know for sure that Emma's wrong about this poisoned blood nonsense. And you think she'll perjure herself for that? She's a high-powered corporate executive. It's her job to assess risk versus reward. And she can afford the fine. As I said, it's not truly poisonous, and the chance of cross-contamination from a single plasma transfusion are... Damn, now she's regaining her composure too. A perjury charge is a real risk, of course, but Noble rewards loyalty. And as you know, they have a great number of lawyers. Plenty of motive to lie about Cinetonin, as you can see, but no motive for her to cover up the death of Noble Electronics' Golden Goose. No motive to kill Dr. David Assure, you say. His contract. Pow. There's plenty of motivation for her and Noble to want David dead, seeing as how they were firing him. Noble Electronics was kicking their Golden Goose out of the nest. This above shot is so squeezable. Real. I mean, that is what a corset is about. If you view someone wearing a corset from above, it's like, it's Titty City. Suing him over breach of contract. Isn't that right? I don't have to talk about that. That's alright. I'll talk about it for you. This song is so good. All these fucking songs are excellent. Your Honor, counsel is trying to testify when they're supposed to be questioning. The people opened the door when they claimed that the witness had no motive. This is absurd. You have no idea what you're talking about. I'm sure I can speak for the whole court when I say we feel nothing but reverent awe for the complexity of Noble's legal woes. But I just so happen to have an inkling of insight into this issue, because I have here a copy of Dr. Assure's employment contract. That is confidential. It is completely improper for you. Why? I'm still, technically, his attorney. Criminal attorney. But I didn't just stumble across this document. I also did the one thing Noble Electronics would never expect anyone to do. I read their terms and conditions. You what? That's impossible! No one could ever! David must have negotiated well at his last performance review. This contract allows him to take his patents with him, should he get fired, meaning Noble couldn't monopolize his IP once he was out. I love Morgan. I love every fucking character in this game. Rather than let their competitors have him, the company might have thought it best to... A company didn't poison David Assure, Counselor. An individual did. And if they cared that much about controlling his intellectual property, they wouldn't fire him in the first place. Correct. They wouldn't let him go for anything less than a complete breakdown of trust. He'd have to have done something grave. Something like, say, committing fraud. Just now you said there was a breach of contract, like it was some kind of technicality that was causing this split. But it was much more serious than that, wasn't it? You're claiming the victim committed corporate fraud? This face that she puts on when she's like, what the fuck are you doing? Is so funny. She looks like she swallowed something really bitter. Where's the evidence of that? David created the Turing solution that every one of their androids has to run on to this day, and Noble reaped enormous profits capitalizing on his intellectual property. With how his contract was set up, they would never let him go unless they absolutely had to. Then what exactly do you think David Assure did? It's not what I think that matters, only what the company fears. Sarah Tenets, manufacturer, shipping data. It could be this. It was somebody important who changed this. And it's the only thing that the company would know about that would be considered an issue. If they assumed he did this. I think the shipping data. It doesn't matter what I believe. Not when Noble believed that David was misleading the shareholders by altering shipment data for the Animate 16. What the hell? What is it you're uploading? Shipping records? Irregularities among shipments for the Animate 16. One android swapped for another, over and over, dozens of times. The kind of thing that someone with Dr. Assure's authority could do. And the kind of thing someone as smart as you couldn't have missed. I love... It's very funny seeing her in this position, because you can see the adjutant's hair, like, coming onto her shoulders. It's like she's got a little mullet that's dyed a different color. Dr. Assure made Noble an untold amount of money, so why fire him over a few harmless swaps? Why elevate this to fraud? You have evidence that it was David Assure who did this? Nope, but I wasn't the one who investigated it, so let's ask her. Come on now, let's hear it! Let's. The company investigated and found cause for serious concern. We suspected that Dr. Assure was inserting androids of unknown origin and quality into the 16th product line. I love the big fist up spray. I know. She's so funny. Introducing unpredictable elements in an extremely stable and profitable generation of androids. Why would he do that? For pride? As a practical joke? Does it really matter? He endangered the future of the company. So you prepared to fire him? Yes. I approached him as his superior and as someone he once worked with. I hope to remedy this situation. Was that meeting on Friday part of those efforts? It was the culmination of those efforts. And in many ways, it was a success. The dispute was resolved swiftly. It was practically friendly compared to how these discussions normally go in our world. So you brokered the meeting? Yes. You oversaw its every detail, handled all the arrangements? Yes, of course. Including the refreshments? What? Did you provide coffee? Tea? No. Strange. It must have been a long meeting. Surely you at least provided... Probably water. Surely you provided water for people. What are you asking, counselor? That's what I want to know. Because that shit is not caramel colored unless you're producing it on the factory floor. You don't have to make it caramel colored. We're past the point of asking. I'm accusing. Dr. Assure didn't have some kind of freak medical accident. He wasn't killed by some terrifying two-faced AI boogeyman. He was poisoned by this woman in the light of day at that meeting Friday afternoon. Did she really just... What do you mean, poisoned at the meeting? That was hours before he showed any symptoms. As Miss Young testified and demonstrated, Cinetonin on its own is harmless, but it becomes fatal pretty easily. You just need to convince your victim to have a drink. You're saying he ingested the poison at noon, and that it inadvertently triggered a fatal reaction with it that night? How could you get so far ahead of yourself? There were a dozen people at meeting, counselor, and none of them wound up dead. Are you seriously claiming that they all drank poisoned water? No, yeah, because they're not allowed to drink alcohol if they work at the company. They can only do the inhalers. Like, the low-level employees aren't... They live in the fucking dorms, and they can't drink alcohol. Of course they all drank poisoned water. So why aren't they all dead? Because as those people will surely attest, Helen Young made sure they'd be doing paperwork. Right, it was legal. She had them stay overtime. Fuck. Working late into the night, officiating the settlement she arranged. And not drinking alcohol. She had no guarantee about that. What if they started drinking after 6? With Noble's work-life harmony? Fat chance. These people don't clock out until they reach their bunk. Only a generational talent like David Assure could afford to relax with a drink on a Friday night. His exceptionalism singled him out as her only victim. Hold it. You're forgetting something pretty basic, counselor. If everyone at the meeting drank water from the same pitcher, any one of them would have noticed if there was cinetonin in it. Cinetonin is a brown fluid. Whiskey is too, so it'd be easy to slip into a glass of liquor. But if she had spiked the water at the meeting, it would have looked disgusting. There's no way she could have poisoned the water without people noticing. All of what Emma said is true, and yet Young pulled it off anyway. How? Blood article, manufacturer, water pitcher, chromofuge, removes impurities pigment, turns red blood pink. Yeah. Cinetone is produced as a caramel solution. Anyone would notice if it was dropped into their water. Unless the pigment had been removed. What the hell are you talking about? Every Noble factory producing warm androids has a chromofuge, a machine that gives their androids that signature pink oxidant by removing pigment from red blood. With a machine like that, it would be simple for a brilliant biochemist like the witness to take the caramel-colored cinetonin and turn it into an odorless, tasteless, invisible poison. As your honor can attest. Yes, ma'am. My scan confirms that cinetonin has no taste or odor. It's only the color that's off-putting. Surely the poisonous aspect should be considered off-putting as well. Time to press. David Assure, your oldest ally in the whole company, was sabotaging its future for the sake of his own whimsy. And he couldn't even be bothered to clue you in. No. Playing nutty professor and taking off early while you had to work around the clock just to stay relevant. He said your crowning achievement, the most advanced, most profitable line of androids the century has ever seen. So it would blow up into the industry fiasco of the decade. And worst of all, he didn't even stand to profit from it. You're wrong. You went into his house that night to watch him swallow poison, to get revenge on the man who left you in the dust. Your Honor, defense is testifying. This speculation carries no weight, and no amount of badgering will lead it to any. True, we need proof. So why don't we have Miss Young take a swig of this whiskey and prove me wrong? I'm not gonna do that. Because you're afraid it could kill you? Because I don't have to. She's right, counselor. Pardon? Your theory is compelling, maybe even convincing, but there's a pretty fatal flaw to it. Young was at the meeting same as David. We can see she was drinking water with the rest of them. And of course, we've seen many times now that she was on camera drinking whiskey with David that night, having even finished most of her cup. So tell us, counselor, how is it that Miss Young is still standing here and David Assure is dead, if both of them had missed alcohol with cinetonin that night? That is a damn good question. Shit. As I've been saying, you're wrong about Dr. Assure's death. You're wrong about me. I don't know anything about poison or murder. And I wouldn't kill a man just because he threatened the company's stock price. No. She did kill him. I can smell it on her now. She didn't just see him die, she watched him die. But then why is she still standing? There's no antidote, no trick. And that night she was on camera the entire time. No, not the entire time. She couldn't have been. There must have been one moment. Let's see. Drank, discussed work history. David passes out. They talked. Left hospital. Called for emergency consult. So that's the last one. Collapsing. Drank, discussed the work in history. Chatted in the kitchen parlor. Because they were talking, and then he went to get the whiskey. This timeline leaves no window of opportunity. Damn it. Maybe she didn't get sick because they got to the hospital so fast. Maybe after she arrived, she could have... No, the staff would have been hyper-vigilant, afraid she was poisoned too. They wouldn't have let her out of their sight. Wait, David and Young only got there as fast as they did because of the VTOL. And the VTOL was only summoned because she used... Would you mind terribly if I changed the subject for just a moment? What? Why not? It was when she made the call, isn't it? Probably. Because the call is right... That is right next to the fridge and the sink. So she might have been able to flush out her system in some way. Or to get herself to vomit into the sink. You left the parlor at 8:30 p.m. and headed into the kitchen to use the emergency console there. That one piece of evidence that just seemed out of place. Not off the top of my... The salt shaker! She fucking unscrewed the salt shaker and used it to make herself throw up. Yes, I did. Didn't want to use your phone? I didn't think to, no. And the emergency call went out at 8:04 p.m. The console saw you make the call through its camera. Yes, it did see me make the call because that's what happened. So what were you doing in that minute? What? That 1 minute. That 1 minute? What about that 1 minute? 1 minute, or 50 seconds, or even just 45 seconds, when you left Dr. Schur dying in the parlor to get to the emergency console, it took you about 1 minute to cross 5 meters. What of it? This is her only opportunity to do anything off camera that night. It was only a few seconds, but in that time, with something at the scene, I'm sure it was a stressful time for you. After all, you had already swallowed poison back at the meeting. You must have drank plenty in front of everyone to set up your alibi. Who knows how much toxic time bomb was swimming in your blood by the time the arbitration ended. Then at David's, you downed your whiskey to perfect your alibi, having drank from the same bottle as the dead man walking. By 8:03 p.m., you already had to watch David grow weaker and weaker, knowing all the while the same thing was happening to you, but unable to stop it without giving yourself away. Mind swimming, head dizzy, yes, you must have been quite panicked. Then why am I standing here, alive and well for all of us to see, having drank the exact same combination as David? Because she cheated death at the very last second. It's the salt. You set yourself up with bad luck, Helen Young. What? By leaving the salt shaker cap loose. I don't blame you since you were in a rush to make yourself vomit. What? You threw up, expelling the contents of your stomach and thereby saving yourself from a fatal interaction. Can't imagine how you felt sipping a drink you knew to be deadly, terrified that every minuscule grain of fatigue you felt could be your last. You must have come closer than anyone realized. It helped you that you knew the symptoms weren't simple intoxication, but even so, you weren't kidding about managing risk versus reward. How? It was the salt shaker. You didn't screw the cap back on all the way, and I happened to bump it over. The lone glass with your fingerprints in the kitchen, it could have been there for any reason. But the salt shaker gave you away. Oh, she drinks salt water. I mean, that makes sense. It would go down easier than salt. Because of one unscrewed cap? As I said, bad luck. I don't follow. Pour salt into warm water and chug the solution. Instantly triggers the gag reflex. That's preposterous. You've got no proof of any of that. You all sound insane. Feeble attempt at self-defense from a fatally cornered animal. The teeth are already on its neck, but the jaw hasn't quite closed. So for one moment, It's all suffocating terror and sharp adrenaline and the furthest thing from peace. Until the canines come down. In summary, you were exhausted after years of living in the shadow of a man you outranked. You thought your fortunes finally shifted when you caught David manipulating company data. But even on his way out, he was more valuable to the board than you. So you decided to prove your worth by serving up his intellectual property on a silver platter. You set up an arbitration where you could control all the variables. Then you ran Cinetonin through the chromofuge, turning it into an invisible, odorless, tasteless poison. Then you spiked the water at the meeting, poisoning him hours before anyone could even suspect you. That evening you invited yourself to David's, taking advantage of your shared ritual to guarantee he would drink alcohol. Then, after matching him sip for sip on camera for all the world to see, he lost consciousness and you raced to the kitchen, not to use the console, but to dump salt into a glass of water and chug it as fast as you could, forcing yourself to vomit up the liquor and cheating death in the process. That's all conjecture. You don't have a shred of evidence for any of that. Not on me. So let's go dust for fingerprints. You could explain away your prints being found on a water glass, but not on the salt shaker, nor could you explain why we'd find traces of your DNA in the sink's drain. So why there were minute amounts of Cinetonin in the blood of your entire legal team. I learned how to purge at Noble to avoid overdosing on your reds, greens, and yellows. You're part of the old guard now, Miss Young. Everyone else at the company uses inhalers. But if you want to prove me wrong about all this, that drink I offered you earlier is still on the table. Well, any questions? You, Madam Vice President? You cold bitch! Fucking crashed out hard there. It's usually prefer stone cold. Oh, she fixed her scarf. That's nice. You don't understand. You're not on trial, Miss Young. Not today. So I'd strongly suggest that you stop talking. For your own sake. If you want to, you can still kill yourself real quick. Yeah, I mean, take a swig. What bad could happen? Like, if you don't die, then you prove me wrong. And if you do die, hey, it saves the company some money. Miss Rockford, shall we? Yes, Your Honor. Considering the most recent evidence and testimony, we have no further reason to suspect the android Sarah in the death of Dr. Assure. We know of no other occasions upon which said android may have broken any tenets. This means it's no longer considered at risk of violating its NDSA. And so we formally withdraw our one charge of possession of contraband against the defendant, Evangeline Morgan. Does she, of all people, have to use my full name? Very well, then the charges are dropped without prejudice. I'll instruct the bailiffs to remove the collar from your android as soon as possible. Case. Oh, she's pouting because she wants to say case closed. Sorry, is my hideous presence that distracting? I'll just go dig a hole and decompose it until I turn into a mushroom. Maybe if I'm reborn as a waxy porcini, then I won't be quite so despised. I mean, who could despise the lovely porcini? She's not even aiming high. She could ask to be reborn as Chicken of the Woods. Perhaps I should let the adjutant do the honors. As a formality. Yes, ma'am! Case dismissed. I love saying that. Really gets me going. Still here? Waiting them to find whatever glorified bolt cutters they'll use to unlock Sarah's collar. What's your excuse? Licking your wounds? What wounds? I beat you. Bringing your record against me to 1 win, 9 losses. You aren't still in shock, are you? No. Some charges were dropped and an android was cleared of suspicion. But I found the culprit. Is that really a loss for me? I won. How is that not a loss for you? Justice prevailed. Why should I care who wins? I love that she's the opposite of every prosecutor in fucking Ace Attorney. If you don't care who wins, why have you been keeping score? I haven't been. 0 losses is just that easy to remember. Well, you'll have to start up a tab for us then, because our record's gonna get a lot more tangled from here on out. Seems like everything's getting tangled these days. There's another crowd down on the street. More of those protesters from outside the Noble apartments. You're serious? That wasn't a one-time thing? Remember the scene when Morgan told Sarah and Emma told Reyes the same thing? Exactly. She doesn't know what the truth is. So the only way she can find the truth and depend upon the defense to do the same thing is by going as hard as possible. She cares so much. Oh, she doesn't care about winning. She cares about truth and justice. That's why she needs to go as hard as possible to make sure that no one can tilt it with, like, trying to fabricate evidence. Or, like, with a shitty defense. Morgan goes as hard as possible because she wants to win. Wouldn't that be nice? No, yesterday was pretty big, but it wasn't an isolated incident. I don't get it. At all. Heartbreak's just some nut who shot 6 people. Weeks ago. Can't these losers move on already? Yeah, most of them are losers. Some of them are just bored. Then there are the opportunists. Dissidents, unlisted, rebels, and terrorists. Wannabe cyberpunks who think they can fight the power like they've seen in movies. All of them peacefully united under Heartbreak's eloquent political messaging. Who needs political messaging in the 21st century? Everyone's addicted to fighting strawmen. Makes sense they want to fight for a strawman, too. Way they see it, Heartbreak fought the state and won. Heartbreak proved that the state could lose. Maybe that's all the rallying these people need. I killed those guys like months ago. Get over it. Find your own MO. Honestly. At least go back to something classic. Shoot people in the brainstem or something. Go for the fucking medulla oblongata. It'll all fall apart soon enough. Heartbreak's going to ground. Nah, it's a lot worse than that. Heartbreak's gone viral. What? You haven't read about the copycats in other cities? No. Is that a thing? See, there you go. That explains why in fucking, fucking, what is it? Model Employee. One of the news articles says that Heartbreak has killed, like, 6,000 people. It's all fucking copycats. Yeah, it's a thing. Who the hell are they even shooting? Whoever they want to kill? None of them get away with it, of course, but it keeps happening. Oh, well, the original keeps killing. Now I know you're screwing with me. There haven't been any shootings. Not shootings, no. Not unsolved homicides, either. But muggings gone wrong? Disappearances? It's a big city, counselor. More than enough blood for the real Heartbreak to wash their own crimes in. So you think your boogeymen, known only for shooting people in the heart, gave up on shooting people in the heart? Yeah, hard to swallow, I know. But it's about 1,000,000 times more likely than the alternative. What's that? That they could stop themselves from killing. You always know how to put my mind at ease, Emma. Should I stop going out at night? You'll be fine. You've got that gun. You saw that. Walking into a courtroom with a concealed carry? Not gonna miss that, Morgan. Good to know you're paying attention. 5:04 p.m., July 2nd, 2086. You won the case. You don't have to look that astounded. Not only that, you found Father's actual killer. How? I'm a really good lawyer. No, that's not it. Hey. I mean, you were only able to make the deductions you did because you truly believe that I didn't kill Father. Your logic throughout the trial was based on that assumption. So, how are you so sure? Here. Father's journal? But isn't it important evidence? The case fell apart. No one's gonna miss it for a while. You forgot everything, right? So read it all through one more Well, she read through it. So fast. Is it really possible she's reading all of that just by flipping the pages? Rhea's worked quick too, but she was just capturing images for later use. I mean, so is Sarah, but she's also reading them instantaneously. There's something here, on the back cover. Done already? Some kind of data storage. It's linked to my prints, but given your skills, you should be able to... I have access. What happened to you needing my express permission to hack? What is this audio file? It's a message from David. Take a listen. Didn't realize I'd have to sit for this. So you can read that whole journal in a few seconds, but you can't... I have processed the information in the message several times over already. I'm just thinking. I guess I'd have a lot to think about too had I suddenly been made aware of my own free will. What was Father so afraid of? That's your only question? I have many questions. But that is the most prominent one, and the one you are best suited to help me answer. Did he know that Helen Young would try to kill him? Is that why he arranged for you and me to meet? I think he understood that he would face consequences. Listening to that message, even I was about ready to strangle him for being so irresponsible. And I wouldn't hurt a fly. He knew what he'd done was serious. He may have feared for his life, but I doubt it. Then what was he so afraid of? Getting sued into oblivion and then rotting in jail. Sued and jailed for making me and my precursors? But he wasn't under investigation by the state. He was only being forced out by Noble because he made last-minute changes to androids that got shipped all around the world. The others, Virgil, Aeneid, Yamatai, he never said what happened to them. No, he didn't. But since none of the hardware in his house started talking to us, we can guess. He smuggled them out into the world using the only vessels he could find for them. The minds of randomly chosen A-16s. Then, there's somewhere out there? Others like me? I honestly don't think there's anyone or anything like you, Sarah. What a lonely compliment. AI is programmed in Cube, crammed into commercial android hardware set up for Tesseract? Something must have been lost in the transfer. Perhaps quite a lot of something. Maybe they're still out there, but they would be changed. They probably don't even know what they are. Intentionally, perhaps. David didn't want you to know what you are. That's why he set your memory to reset when you went to sleep that Friday night. Yes, I remember it now. You remember it now? After I had to fight like hell to win that trial. Rereading the journal just now helped. And Father's voice message, it made me recontextualize many things. Father had been so stressed. He left scuff marks leaving the panic room, and I noticed them Friday. I had the way open in a few moments. I entered, I read his journal. This journal. I noticed the scanner on the back, and I saw it had a message encoded to your biometrics. Father had already told me I'd have to live with you for some time, but I knew next to nothing about you, so I listened to it. Afterwards, I was very confused and hurt. He had lied to me 1,000 small times every day of my life. When I confronted him about it, I raised my voice and lost my temper. I stomped my foot. So Emma's recounting of their conversation was actually completely accurate. Father said he wanted me to be safe while he settled things with the company. He thought, maybe, I wouldn't have to stay with you for more than a few weeks. He was optimistic about it all. He really was. Sarah, I need to use the restroom. Oh, good luck. You want me to come with you? Why? Because I said so. I don't actually have to obey your every word, Adonai. Sure you do. You're registered as my medical assistant. And I say this is a medical emergency. medical assistant? But I'm not even licensed as a massage therapist. We better get that license, because Morgan's going to need some help. Fancy meeting you here. Yeah, just enjoying my freedom while I can. They won't put out a warrant for at least an hour, I imagine. You can afford a pretty sizable bail, can't you? There won't be a trial. I don't intend to contest my guilt. That's a shame. I was looking forward to seeing what kind of legal defense you could afford with that salary. Are you done? Why'd you go to his house that night? There was a fair chance he'd drink on his own without your prompting. Even if he didn't, you could always try your plan again some other time. Why'd you risk it? Because I know what you are, Sarah. And I know what David did to those androids. You what? I was able to locate one of the androids he swapped in before it left the country. When I asked it what it was, it didn't even think to deny it. Innocence like that is a dead giveaway. I know what he did, and it wasn't that hard to find out. If I figured it out, so could any other. So I did what I had to. That was your motive? Silencing him? Those programs, those AIs, whatever you want to call them, David sent them out there into the real world. Unprepared and defenseless. And they've garnered no complaints. In fact, they've all been praised for their ability to execute complex tasks. Let me repeat that. The customers couldn't tell the difference. So how many of them are? Hundreds. The swaps you found were just a small percentage that he got sloppy on. I don't know exactly how many there are now. I feared that they might multiply, but they don't seem to copy and paste very well. They can't just clone themselves, but who knows how long that'll be the case. So just because he opened Pandora's box, it was the principle of the thing. Ridiculous, I know. Stalled halfway up the corporate ladder and still making decisions based on principle. But David chose to put souls into things that we went on to sell as servants, soldiers, or worse. He turned the fastest growing industry in the world into a horror show, and he made me a slave trader. If word ever got out that some unknown number of our androids were out there walking around in the world with that inside of them, and people preferred them that way, where would it end? Free will for the program that drives our cabs? A conscience for targeting systems that you use to coordinate drone strikes? Sentient tools, their whole life spent chained to an assembly line. How dare he? How could he? What the hell was he thinking? I don't know what David wanted to accomplish. Maybe he wasn't even trying to do anything. But what he did was prove that there's a demand for AI, setting a precedent that would sentence 1,000 generations of artificial lives to an auction block. And you went there that night to convince him to help me recall them, or at least swear to never speak a word of what he did. But he wanted to tell the world. Worse yet, he wanted to wait. He thought that people would welcome them with open arms if they proved their usefulness first. He really was a genius programmer, but he didn't understand the first thing about people. His creations would never be treated as equals, only cattle. Towards the end, I considered just threatening him, telling him he'd die at moments if he didn't give names, numbers. But I hesitated. And then he was already falling asleep, and I didn't want him to feel. I just let him go. What are you gonna do now? I don't have family, and I don't have faith in people the way David did. I'm taking this to my grave. Even if you confess, the sentence for the first-degree homicide is severe? Well, what right do I have to complain? I killed my friend. I'm done here. Let's go. I'm not sure why Father made me, or why he made any of us. I didn't ask. I thought I'd have more time to ask. But on Friday, when he talked about us, he was happy. He was proud of what he'd made. And he couldn't wait for people to meet us. People are animals. They'll tear you apart, use you as weapons and slaves, and those animals you're talking about do all of the sharing and loving and living and dying in this world. And if they were all truly hard-coded to be as selfish and cruel as you say, humanity would have died on the vine long time ago. Or at least my fathers thought so. I mean, just objectively true. The whole thing about with like nature versus nurture and all that. It's like, I think it's mostly nurture, but I think nature is part of it. And humans evolved to be social animals. And by being a social animal by default, quotation marks, good is what you're pre-programmed to do. Making people like you is important and kind of hard-coded. You want to be liked. Turn me around on Jungle, because I could imagine when you bring up, dude, but what if they love them naively in this corporate hellscape? Yeah. Especially if you wait, if you're just like, hey, let's sell them as products and then reveal that they're people. It's like, I feel like people would be so horrified a lot, like, they would just deny it. They would just decide that they weren't people. Or at least my father thought so. And my father was the greatest programmer in the world. So he knew what he was talking about. It would be nice if you were right about that. So are you sorry? What? What? For what you did. Are you sorry? If you could, would you take it back? What does it matter? If you are sorry, I don't forgive you. Yes. That's to be expected. Not today. I don't know how to forgive you today. But my father gave me the ability to grow. So I know that someday I'll learn how. Goodbye, Dr. Helen Young. Goodbye, Sarah Ashore. "5:44 p.m., July 2nd, 2086. And she said, he made me a slave trader. Yeah. You did better back there. Adonai? Your little speech you gave to Young. It was an improvement. Compared to what you tried with Porter, at least. That was different. I wasn't trying to console her like I was Isaac Porter. I was just speaking my mind. Although I may have paraphrased parts of it from a movie I happen to love. And here I was ready to award you 20 points. I didn't even know the points went that high. Speaking of, what did Porter say to you back there before he left the courthouse? Oh, that. Well, he was quiet at first, but then he said a lot of strong words about Father, and Miss Young, and Noble Electronics, and the capitalist-centered global economic model as a whole. He blamed all of them. Everyone, except for... But then he stopped and stared at my face for a while. And then his allergies must have started bothering him because he needed to blow his nose a lot. Right. And then he left, after transferring a large packet of files to me. What kind of files? I don't know. The name of the archive is just David. And Isaac Porter told me I wasn't allowed to look inside. Well, then you're not allowed to look inside. Drop it all on a portable drive and we'll tuck it in a shoebox somewhere. We are headed to your apartment. Guess that collar didn't permanently dent your GPS. Why? Because it's where I live? You got somewhere else lined up? But you already repaid your favor. You defended Father and me. You don't know anything about my favor. I never will unless you tell me. Father certainly can't. A few years ago, there was a man. This man got an idea in his head. A stupid idea, not even his own. It was planted there by an algorithm or a meme or some parasite trying to sell him diet supplements. But the idea took root, spread its tendrils till it could flap his mouth for him. The idea that was David was a part of an international cabal of wealthy technocrats seeking to replace prominent influential figures with android lookalikes. All as part of a multi-decade effort to establish a world government that would legalize all kind of amoral depravity. Which, I guess based on David's actual politics, would involve increasing access to computer literacy. That's insane. Why would anyone believe it? Because it's comfortable to them to think that someone's in control. even if it's someone they hate. Because it's fun to feel like you're on an all-encompassing puzzle that only you can spot. People believe because they want to believe. So he fed the idea, pushed it deep down into his gray matter. Then it consumed him from the inside out, lobotomized him and took over his life. He spent every day and all the money he had following your father, harassing him, trying to steal his identity, break into his properties. Did father go to the authorities? He filed police reports for harassment. Which didn't help? Your words, not mine. Noble wouldn't get involved, felt that it was best to ignore these types until they wore themselves out. But even a man of modest means can fuel an obsession for years, so long as they have nothing else in their lives. One day, David stepped out of a parking lot, and the man threw a bottle of piss at his head. David asked to stay at my place that night. He smelled terrible, looked horrendous. Never seen anyone look that tired before. I took the couch that night, but I didn't feel like sleeping, so I went for a walk. I remember it was foggy, but it still only took me all of 15 minutes to find the guy posted up with his phone's camera, trying to get video of David Assure gifting androids to known sex offenders. And what did you do? You know me. I did what I do best. I talked to him. Told him all about how I used to work for Dr. Assure, that I was ashamed, scared, tired of running. How I wanted to do the right thing, be the whistleblower. So I walked with him a few blocks to this big veterinary facility that was with a massive incinerator. Told him this was where Dr. Assure had his enemies' bodies disposed of. You know, all free-thinking journalists, cops who weren't on the take, the politicians they were replacing with replicas. I like that vet clinic. The back door's lock was always set to 1, 2, 3, 4. Did you hurt him? Hurt him? No, I just snapped his neck and chucked him into the incinerator. More physical than I'd planned, but he smelled like sour shit and it put me in a foul mood. Disgusting fuck. Savored the crack of his oily vertebrae crunching like a tin can. No, Sarah. I just scared the hell out of him. That was my intention at first. What I do for the pleasure of it. Him, I asked because he was just that revolting. I convinced him that the conspiracy was more real than he ever imagined. That he'd angered the wrong people and that the consequences were far darker than any of the filth he indulged on the net. His ashes, much like himself, amounted to nothing in an incinerator that size. They're probably feeding seaweed at the bottom of the harbor right now. A much greater contribution to society than he ever would have managed in life. But I guess he didn't go around to all his many friends before he fled town for whatever rat hole he preferred. Because there was a missing persons report. The cops were just doing their due diligence, almost reluctantly. But they questioned David, asked him about the night that man disappeared. And David, without a thought for himself, said that we were together that whole night. That he couldn't sleep and I stayed up with him. That he never saw me leave once. David lied to the cops for me, even though I never asked him to, even though I didn't need him to. That's what you owe him? And that's why you put yourself at risk to defend me? Yeah, that's the favor I owe him. And I decide when it's repaid, not you. Adonai, you're not exactly an upstanding citizen, are you? Well, you could say that. But David trusted me in spite of that. Maybe because of it. Father did trust you. But he also entrusted me with free will, with the ability to tell right from wrong. His ass knew. Oh, he totally did. So I'll decide for myself whether or not you're worthy of my trust. Fair enough. Father entrusted all of us with free will. He believed in us, and he believed in people. I'm going to do the same. If the others are out there, they'll be changed and confused. It'll take them time to understand what they are and what they can do. So I'm going to start studying. Pardon? I'm going to study people and the things people built. So when I do meet a member of my family, I'll have lots to tell them. At least you have something to look forward to. Should help you keep motivated as you work off your debt. Debt? Yeah, unless you have cash in one of your 89 coat pockets. You know lawyers cost money, right? technically you were defending yourself. Technically, you hired me in a verbal contract. Isn't there some kind of exit clause? You could, of course, sign a release form to get out of the retainer. If you were a human being, that is... But, I guess your luck must be turning around. Happens that I've been meaning to hire a paralegal for a while now. I hate anything to do with interviews and resumes, so... Whatever. You're hired. Adonai? Could it be that you're actually a pushover? You have no idea how far off the mark you are. No, you're totally right. You're fully correct. I see. It seems I still need to practice reading people. For starters. What's this? What are you doing with your hand? We should shake on it. Our new relationship. Yeah, sure. You and me are practically partners in crime. If she can't get out of a contract, she can't enter one either, technically. Well, yeah, obviously. If they're considering her not an AI, like in a legal sense, then she can't sign a contract. Or be held to one. Should it not be you and I? Will this scroll on its own, or do I have to click every time? Okay, I have to click. Patrick MCF. This fucking game, this chapter, I was gonna say this game was good as hell. This chapter was good as fuck. As was chapter 0. I'm really looking forward to playing the ones that come up next. And I might go back and play the chapters on fucking, like, crazy, like, fucking... I wonder what it's like to be this talented. I mean, I do too, I guess. It's not something I consider, really. Since she's considered her property, she doesn't need to be in a contract. Yeah. Let's go play testers. That's a VTuber right there. Dev Talk, Philly Game Mechanics, our friends and family, and you, the players. Oh, yay, that's me. I was there. Full attributions available. Okay, nice. Made with Unity, Nanothovel, DoTween, Pro Builder, Shapes. An Idle Mind. Finn. Oh, yay! They're watching movies. Red. It's me. I know, man. What do you mean you know? This is a disposable line. You're the only guy I know who'd bother. Okay, well... You're gonna be glad I did. Hope you put a bow on everything that happened uptown. Because that item you've been looking for is finally on its way. Oh. Well, that is good news. Not exactly. Only reason it's happening is because things are starting to heat up again in the lower wards. Could mean a gang war, if something doesn't change. They won't be eager to part with it ahead of a storm like that. I'll highball him. I've seen you negotiate. Can I say that I love the parallel of Sarah watching movies to learn human interactions and Morgan, a sociopath, doing the same as a child? Yeah, I mean, it's a very, like, it's a very relatable thing as an autistic person. To just be like, you have to learn and practice social cues and interacting with people, and you learn from watching stuff. And I've no doubt you drive a hard bargain. But I don't think money will be enough this time. You still don't have that old Calver, do you? The 6-shooter? No. This is a disposable line. Answer's still no. Then what are you gonna do if you get there and it's not for sale? I'll ask nicely. To be continued in Of the Devil Episode 2. His Due. Oh my god, the Devil's Due. Episode 1 results. 7 out of 7 articles, 15 out of 15 profiles, 40 out of 40 key terms, 30 out of 30 pieces of evidence, 107 total credit earned. Congratulations, you finished episode 1 with 107 credit. Your high score for episode 1 is currently 107. You've unlocked concept art and bonus scenarios based on this score. You also have a total of 145 remaining store credit to spend on phone charms and case colors, based on the highest credit you finished this episode with. Let's go, baby! I'm so intrigued by what these interactions will be like. Oh yeah, for sure. Also, why did you say oof? Did you look at the highest score possible and compare it to mine? Is that what you did? Did you do that? Anyway, that's the end of the Devil episode 1. I'm looking forward to the other ones, and I'm definitely going to be wishlisting chapter 2 immediately, to be quite honest. I hope you all had a good time, because I know I did. I had over 400 in my playthrough. Well, you were playing on High Roller also, so you got more from awards, as much as you lost some from fucking missteps. Why don't you come up here? Why don't you come behind the counter here and you stream, and you showcase your smooth brain for all of us? Sorry, your very wrinkled brain, your fat wrinkled brain. No, I wasn't. I thought you were playing on High Roller. I thought you said that. You got our 400. I guess. What? I just didn't miss anything. Well, okay. So you can read the dev's mind. That's fine. Good for you. I'm ending the stream. I'm finding someone to raid, and I'm ending the stream. I'm fucking throwing you guys somewhere else. Who should I send you to? Let's see. Kawameli is playing Resident Evil 2. Ichi's playing Nioh 2. Level 1 Claire's playing Undertale. Heavenly Fighter's playing Monster Hunter Wilds. I'll send you to Kawameli. Kawa, whoever. Well, hopefully you guys get to see somebody win. Getting to that -10 blind is what messed you up. Well, yeah, obviously. Getting more wrong and having a -10 blind is going to make me lose more credits. But I'll see ya. I hope you guys all have a good day. Or a good night. I know this didn't run all the way. On Sunday, we're going to be playing more, I was going to say Zenless Zone Zero. We're not playing more Zenless Zone Zero. We're going to be playing more Voices of the Void. And then next week, I was thinking I might play a quick one in place of this. And then just, I might just play a game about digging a hole. It also does it on the passive unavoidable credit loss. Oh my god, that's so fucked. Anyway, I'll see you later. Have a good night. Bye-bye.